Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
The wrong guy. The dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case. Dati mihi Anglican por his verbis Latinos. I didn't ask you to interrupt me.
Is that correct?
Oh, for crumb's sake.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching. All right, I've messed this up completely. But I have an excuse or a reason. There we go. You guys missed this. I've been live for the last 11 minutes. I don't know what happened. I can tell you this. Mrs. R.A. came home. She had a car full of groceries. I carried in some groceries. I happened to have found the M&M peanuts. Or peanut butter M&Ms, I should say. I brought them in here. And then we just about had probably the biggest fight of our entire marriage over them. Because she seems to think they were hers. I had clearly brought them in from the car, which establishes ownership. And I went live. I'm like, I know she won't take them from me while I'm live, so I went live. Unfortunately, I have to because I did this as a new stream and not as one from before, I have to tell YouTube to go live twice. So first I go live here, and then there. I only did it one time. So I'm talking to y'all. I'm seeing myself. It says on air in the corner up there on the TV. And we had a battle over the M&Ms, and I ended up with half an evidence cup full of M&Ms, as you can see in there. That's all I got before my daughter ganged up on me with my wife, and they took them from me. And so, Mr. Weinstein, I know you're available. I need your help. I need to sue for recovery and maybe damages. But I brought them in from the car. Isn't that not what means? You can't just claim it because you put it in the cart, right? Give her the chocolate. She's got the chocolate. She's got it. Okay. Yeah, nothing is working because I was literally in a battle. I was in a battle, I would say for my life, but it was actually for the candy. They're just trying to get everything set up. Okay, I will turn on the seats. I haven't done anything. I'm sorry. We'll get everything working. Let me tell you what I want to do, and I've gone against what I said I was going to do just minutes ago. And Tony, I apologize. But I was watching. We've got this other case that just started today that has some similar. I apologize. Hang on, guys, ease up. Some similar fact patterns to the one we just followed, and the audio was terrible, but it's fixable. I think they're going to fix it over time, but I think we might just jump in because first of all, it's gotten spicy, it's gotten crazy. It is a cold case. I think I might just jump in and we'll replay what happened this morning, just to get caught up. And I'm going to do what I can with the audio, or we'll bring it in both ears instead of just one. We're going to tune out some of the noise. It still is bad. It is not good. It still is bad, but it has convicted serial killer things. Let's see, did you see my reply to Doug? I saw it, Greeners. I liked it, if you remember. Doug Weinstein did tweet earlier this afternoon. Let's see what he said. He said, well, that was brutal. And a couple of responses, including Greeners. And somebody said, you did great given the circumstances. I just wish Jim would have testified.
Thank you, sir.
And Doug replied, Jim's in the wind. The answer, my friend, is floating in the wind. So I did send a little note to him and said I really did appreciate watching him, and I appreciate watching lawyers that conduct themselves in that manner, respectfully, in a trial, and give him a little thanks. I'd love to talk to him sometime. Maybe today's not that day for him. But Barb, now you tell me. screeners did in fact say brutal any way you slice it, which it's too soon. Oh my goodness. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start this other case, which started this morning. They're 3 hours ahead of us. So we're going to try to clean up the audio, skip through the breaks, and make it a little cleaner. It starts abruptly. It starts like partially through the prosecution's opening statements. I do not represent the channel. No, you don't. I'm going to unlike it. There we go. I can hear you chewing. Enough for the rest of the class? I am chewing peanut butter M&Ms. There would be enough for the rest of the class, but Mrs. R.A. took the container from me. We've got the big one. It's from Sam's Club, like the gallon size. Anyway, here we go. With that preface, this is the Thanksgiving Day murder trial, Georgia versus Christopher Wolfenbarger. And this is the opening statements that we're going to try to do. I've got some work to do, okay, on the audio. I've been literally, that's one of the reasons why I was late as well. I'm just trying to tune this as best I can, and it is terrible audio. It really is quite bad. But we'll do what we can because it gets spicier here as the day goes. Let's see.
Records, X-rays, and they gave Dr. Mary Hopkins, forensic dentist, went to the examiner's office, conducted an examination, looked at the X-rays, looked at the fillings, looked at the dimensions of the teeth, and was able to make a conclusive determination that the skull that was found in April 1999 was in fact the skull that belonged to Melissa Wolfenbarger, because the dental records matched the impressions that she took from the skull. It was a match. That's when all the location of the job, that's when all the location of the house, the location of the extremities, and the skull between the job, that's when all that comes in. And that's already a suspect. That's when they're really focusing on this. You know what he says? Same thing. She just left. Then he says, oh, well, I dropped off at the train station. You're going to hear those statements from him, and you're going to hear the detectives question him about those statements and that explanation. As I said, the skull is identified by Mary Hopkins. There were 2 medical examiners during that period in 1998 when we first started, in 1999 when we first started their examinations. Dr. Carol Terry and Dr. Joseph Parker. Dr. Joseph Parker is no longer living, but you will hear from Dr. Carol Terry, who will tell you that she examined the extremities. She'll tell you that she examined the skull and that they appeared to have evidence of tooth marks. And she'll tell you that her expert opinion is that Melissa Wolfenbarger was murdered. The circumstances of her lifestyle, how she was living, what was happening to her, the circumstances of her remains, the condition that they were found in, makes it highly likely that she was murdered. That's what she'll tell you. Tina Patton is the sister of Mrs. Wolfenbarger that you will hear from at some point today. Melissa told her that Chris was responsible for the bruises on her neck. You'll hear from Norma Patton, Melissa's mother. She was told about the battery in July of '98. Melissa told her mother that she wanted to leave this defendant. She told him that he was abusive. You'll hear from Thomas Dixon, who Melissa was seeing. Probably one of the last persons that Melissa saw. He also has information that he's going to tell you about how abusive this defendant was from Melissa's own mouth. And you're going to hear from Christina Garrett. Christina Garrett is the daughter of Melissa Wolfenbarger and Christopher Wolfenbarger. And the one thing she'll tell you is that
they mute the audio every time the lawyer's talking to the defendant because we can overhear it. So that's a court requirement when the audio cuts out.
One thing that kind of stood out is she just remembers her mother kind of disappearing one day. And she'll tell you that one of the oddest things that she cannot reconcile is almost immediately after Melissa just vanished, this defendant essentially just removes all of her stuff out of the house. You can see the pictures of the mother, the belongings, and things of that nature. It's gone. While she was growing up, she would constantly ask him, "Where's my mother?" And you would expect that you would have heard an answer at some point, some type of explanation, where she would tell you that he never answered her questions. He never told her I looked for her. He never told her I ever reported her missing. Nothing. In fact, she would tell you that this defendant would tell her while he was growing up that he knows how to get rid of a body. He knows how to not get caught. He also told his daughter, and you will hear this from her mouth, that he had a place to go on the run if he needed to. Now, Christina Wolfenbarger, grew up in basically being cared for by Kathy Wolfenbarger, Christopher Wolfenbarger's biological mother. She lived in the house until she was able to leave when she became an adult. You're going to hear that when she left the house of grandmother, when she was able to get out on her own, that's when law enforcement gets that information from her, around 2015, 2017. That information about what he told her while she was growing up. You're going to hear from Dorothy Jones. Now, Dorothy Jones is a resident of that neighborhood around the 800 Brookline Road area, close to the Action Glass Company where Christopher Wolfenbarger worked, close to the location where Melissa Wolfenbarger's skull was located, close to the location where Melissa Wolfenbarger's remains were located. Dorothy Jones is familiar with that location, and essentially what she's going to tell you is she pretty much hung out with Christopher pretty much every day during that period. She remembers him. She remembers Melissa. She remembers seeing signs of Melissa being abused. She would tell you that she saw Melissa with the black eye herself, that she had been punched in the eye. She's also going to tell you that she's heard them fighting at that house, glass breaking. Probably the most disturbing thing she's going to tell you is that she saw him every day for about a 10-year period. And just one day, Melissa was gone, never saw her again, and Chris was gone. And she said, not only gone, but just kind of left all this stuff. It's him. You're going to hear about the signs of trauma. There are going to be some photographs that you'll see solely for the purpose of illustrating the tool marks, the mechanical device that was used to disconnect the limbs of Melissa Wolfenbarger. And most importantly, you'll hear this defendant's own statement. During that 1999 period, he told the officers that he was fired because the owners thought he stole a saw. He admits to borrowing it. He admits to using it to cut the top off his car. He never got the saw back. And you'll hear from the anthropologists, the detectives, the medical examiner, that there are signs that Melissa Wolfenbarger's remains have been solved. You also hear about the day he was arrested, 2024. And it did not go like a typical execution of a warrant for homicide because it took quite a bit of time to locate this offender. In fact, they didn't locate him in the residence portion of the house. They located him in the side area to the garage that was situated in the living space. They found him in a something that looks the evidence will show it has the appearance that it was created for the purpose of the house. That's what the evidence is going to show. After about 40 to 50 minutes, they get the dogs, and you just can't hide from the dogs, right? The dogs hit, come on out of there. You see, that's what you're going to get. When he crawls out of there after an hour, and the evidence is going to show he knew exactly who was at his front door. But when your determination, your decision as to why, I submit to you, it will be clear why. It will be clear. They were there to finally arrest this defendant for the murder of his wife. Arrest this defendant for dismembering his wife. They were there to arrest him and hold him accountable for taking Melissa Wolfenbarger from her mother and sister, most importantly, her children. At the conclusion of this case, the evidence, testimony, the exhibits, you will be left with one decision, and that's to revoke the truth. And I submit to you, the truth will be guilty on both counts of the state indictment for the murder of Melissa Wolfenbarger in 1989.
There you go. That concludes the state.
Thank you.
Open. Now we have the defense.
Mr. McDermott, does the defense wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you may proceed.
Audio's a little better here. We can for you.
We can all agree that Melissa Wolfenbarger did suffer a tragic death. And you haven't yet heard the extent of which she had suffered a tragic life. But the extent of her suffering in life and in death had nothing to do with Christopher Wolfenbarger. The state's story begins correctly. This is a case about a horrifying discovery of human remains that later became identified as Melissa Wolfenbarger's. But the evidence will show you over the next few days that the state's story has gaping holes in it. And that the state is going to ask you effectively to imagine in order to connect the dots between those gaping holes. To fill the gaps, if you will. What the state has declined to tell you in this case is far more important than what they have told you. And your job over the next few days is going to be to see those gaps, to refuse to imagine, and to demand proof of all the elements of the crime that is charged beyond a reasonable doubt. You're going to hear evidence, some of it from their own witnesses, that multiple other individuals could have had something to do with Melissa's death, starting with her own parents. You've heard mention already of the Flint River murders. Melissa's father, Carl Patton, committed a string of murders in the late 1970s. He was suspected of those murders for a long time. He was investigated, but they were not prosecuted and proved until 2003, 4 years after Melissa's disappearance and death. You'll be presented with evidence that Norma Patton, his wife, helped him directly commit at least 2 of those murders, to dispose of the bodies, to clean up the crime scenes, and to wrap up the bodies and dispose of them in ways that are somewhat similar to the way Melissa's remains were found. Carl, Melissa's father, died in prison last December. Melissa's father eventually confessed to killing 5 people. Some of those were for personal revenge. Some of those were contract killings for money. And at least 2 of those were murders of his own friends because they knew too much. All of the victims were either close friends or family members. In one case, Carl knew how to stage a crime scene. He turned what was a shooting to look like an accident of a car on train tracks.
Your Honor, I object to the defense's content of their opening statement. The statements made by counsel are just simply irrelevant to any issues that are presented during this trial.
As previously discussed, they're going to be relevant to third-party guilt and motive score.
I'm going to overrule the objection on relevance grounds. I am, however, going to request that you, in line with our earlier discussion pre-trial, limit some of the details unless and until that evidence is presented to the jury.
I will not get into any more granular detail than I have so far.
Thank you.
Satisfactory?
Yes, sir.
Melissa's mother in 2 of those murders was a co-defendant. She confessed to planning 2 cold-blooded murders, cleaning up the blood, bleaching the floor, etc. And the murders from which the name that comes to those murders is the Flint River murders is because one of those bodies was dumped in the Flint River, the other in the Altmoultrie River. And the only reason Norma didn't go to prison like Carl did was because she got immunity to testify against him. And she'll be here to testify this week. The evidence will show that there is also a Patton family associate who also had very strong motives to kill Melissa. We're trying to get him prosecuted for allegedly molesting her in the 90s, and also because his father later turned out, to his knowledge, was one of Carl's victims. And until he learned that, he was a family friend and hung out with the family. And that man's name is Eric Martin Jackson. You'll find out later that at some point Martin learned what Melissa's father had done to his father. And he goes and buys a series of burial plots at a cemetery in 1997, a year before Melissa goes missing, or maybe a year and a half. And he buys them in the very cemetery that Melissa is buried in today. And later, because later he sold those plots to her family.
If you buy a plot, can you build on it? Is that not?
And there are others I'll touch on in just a minute. We expect Norma Patton to come here and testify that she had a loving relationship with Melissa, that Melissa loved her, communicated with her, stayed in touch with her, tried to get away from Christopher's control every chance she could get, so she could come back to Norma's home and see her. But the evidence is going to show that Melissa was actually abused by her mother in her own home for many years and started running away frequently. Her mother locked her in a room all day, every day, from roughly ages 7 to 12. The evidence will show that their home was so foul and dirty that Melissa acquired a foul smell in her clothes and hair that made the other kids at school bully her and tease her. You'll hear evidence from Melissa's next-door neighbor and childhood friend that she will detail the abuse that she endured in that house. Moreover, at some point before Melissa ran away, her sister Tina had a pregnancy in that house, delivered the baby in the house secretly, and tried to dispose of it secretly in a clothes hamper in the house. 13-year-old Melissa discovered that baby's corpse. She eventually told school officials, who later called police, and it was at that point that Melissa began running away from her home regularly. Christopher, in fact, first met Melissa because she ran away from home. And through a mutual friend, they met at that mutual friend's house. Now, Christopher and Melissa eventually got married, and they did so fairly hurriedly. They were both 17 when they got married. They had 2 children, very young, in very close succession. When Melissa was still pregnant with her second child in 1996, she went to Christopher's mother, Kathy Wolfenbarger, who will testify that Melissa asked her if she would take custody of their children temporarily. And she did. When Melissa got in some legal trouble the next year in Gwinnett County and went on probation for theft, it was after that that they began to, that's when they moved up to Brookline in July of '98. Their children lived with Christopher's mother in Stockbridge and later in Locust Grove, Georgia. When Christopher and Melissa moved up to Brookline in 1998, the children did not go with them. Now, you've heard some talk about an incident that happened in July of 1998 when Melissa took out charges against Christopher. You also heard the state tell you that Melissa came back and dropped the request for that protective order. What they didn't tell you is the very next day, Melissa calls Kathy Wolfenbarger from the Henry County Superior Court and asks her to please come down and sign the papers to make her custody of those children permanent. To make Kathy's custody of Melissa's children permanent. And Melissa permanently relinquishes her parental rights to those children. One of the reasons Melissa originally gave for giving her children over to Kathy Wolfenbarger, and she tells this to Kathy, and she tells this also to Christopher's sister independently, was that she did not want her parents to have anything to do with her children because they are bad people. After relinquishing her parental rights, Melissa quit working around that time at the Waffle House in East Point with her sister, and for some reason begins randomly working at a Waffle House clear up in Doraville. No one knows why she went up there. According to everyone, no one had any connections up there, friends or family or anything. But she goes up there and starts working. Melissa started spending more and more time in Doraville, days at a time, working double shifts, spending the night at someone's house, and then multiple days, and days turned into weeks, she would be gone from Christopher's house. And it was at that time that she had started seeing Thomas Michael Dixon, the state mentioned a while ago. We'll have a chance to cross-examine him. In October of that year, Melissa got arrested in Gwinnett County for violating her probation, and she spent 30 days in jail until early November. The terms of her probation required her to do community service. This was outstanding from 1997, still in effect. She was to do community service, she was to take GED classes, and she was to report regularly to her probation officer, and she had not done any of that. And so they arrested her, gave her 30 days in jail, and then released her back on the same terms of probation. Within 1 month, she is already violating her probation again. Although she was not rearrested at that time. So at this point in her life, Melissa was spending as much, if not more, time in Doraville as she was at Christopher's house. She only occasionally came back to see Christopher. She had her own job. She had her own money. She had her own circle of friends. She had her own freedom. She had no obligations to her children. And so when in December of 1998, she did not come home for several weeks or months, Christopher could safely assume she had decided to live her own life on her own terms, wherever she decided to live. Moreover, if Christopher had raised a stink about it at the time, Melissa was in violation of her probation. She would have been arrested. Melissa's mother, Norma, is expected to testify variously, as you've already heard, that when she didn't hear from Melissa at Christmas in 1998, that's when she knew something was wrong. Alternatively, however, she will testify that no, it was not until my birthday rolled around. That's when I knew something was wrong. She will tell multiple versions of this story. In one version of the story, well, let me back up. The evidence will show you that in multiple versions of the story, whichever version she tells, she never reports Melissa missing until 2000, January of 2000. If something was wrong in December of 98, something was wrong in February of 99 on her birthday, something is wrong a month later, a month later, a month later, her mother doesn't report it. She doesn't file a missing persons report until 2000. The human remains in this case, as you heard, were found on Avon Avenue. It's an industrial area near the west end of Atlanta. The evidence will show that it just so happens Melissa's father, Carl Patton, was familiar with this area. He grew up in a childhood home on Main Street in College Park. It's just a few miles down the road. Further, the evidence will show that Norma and Carl actually went up to Brookline Street right after her birthday in February of 1999. They found Christopher's empty house at that time. They learned from a neighbor that Christopher had moved out sometime between Christmas and New Year's. They also learned that from that neighbor that Christopher worked at Action Glass down on Avon Avenue. So they drove down to Avon Avenue and talked to the people at Action Glass. And they learned that he had been let go there. Again, this is February 1999. Carl and Norma Patton knew where Chris worked and where he lived months before the head was found on Avon Avenue, right beside where he worked. The state is correct that Melissa's mother and sister are going to testify against Christopher. They're going to blame him. They're going to call him a domestic abuser. But there's a lot of context you don't know. Keep in mind, as we've already said, the evidence is going to show that Melissa only met Christopher when she ran away from home. The evidence is also going to show you that Norma Patton has consistently, out of her own mouth, stated that she absolutely hates Christopher. From the very first time she ever saw him, she hated him. She worked and did everything in her power possible to prevent Christopher from seeing Melissa. When he was 16, would not let them date, or tried to prevent them from dating. Tried to prevent Melissa from leaving the house. Tried to prevent them from getting married. She tried to force Melissa onto birth control so that she could not get pregnant. Melissa's older sister joined that opposition to Christopher as well. You'll hear admitted from her own mouth that she did not like Christopher. No one in her family liked Christopher. And that she tried everything she could perpetually to intervene in Christopher and Melissa's marriage to get Melissa to leave Chris. The evidence is going to show that any claims of abuse or bruises on Christopher's part only began to be generated after Melissa started working with Tina at Waffle House. And the evidence of claims of abuse only come from witnesses who came under the influence of Norma and Tina. Christopher and Melissa, as I said, had 2 children, Chrissy and Joey. Chrissy was born in August of 1995, Joey 11 months later. Again, the state is going to present testimony from Norma and Tina, who will say that Melissa would never under any circumstances have abandoned her children. She would not have just left and never kept contact with her children. Impossible. But we already know that, in fact, she did legally abandon them. And the evidence will show that she also practically abandoned them. As I said earlier, when Christopher and Melissa moved up to Brookline Street, the children didn't come with them. They stayed way back in Stockbridge. The children were raised by their grandmother, believing that she was their mother. In September of 1998, when Melissa started leaving for large portions of the time with her work friends and her new lover, Thomas Dixon, she rarely returned to Brookline Street, where Christopher was. She even less hardly ever went down to Stockbridge. You will hear testimony that she rarely visited her children during this time, and that she rarely ever even called them during this time. Whatever Melissa's own personal aspirations might have been in regard to her children, the one thing we do know is the evidence will show that she rarely ever contacted them, and all but forgot about them. You'll hear testimony from Christopher and Melissa's own daughter, who's now grown up, of course. Her name's Christina. Some call her Chrissy. She will testify as a state's witness. She will say that she remembers to the day when her mother disappeared and all the pictures and belongings were removed from the house. Again, the evidence will show that she didn't live in that house. She lived in Stockbridge. The evidence will show you that at that time, Chrissy was every bit of 3 years old. Moreover, Christopher and Melissa's children didn't live in that house, as I said. Chrissy will also tell you that years later, she remembers Christopher making these offhand comments about he knows how to get away with murder, and the key is to hide the body, or to put it under the foundation of a house that's being built so they'll concrete over it and no one will ever find it. And there are various versions of that story. Christopher's son, Joey, who's also now grown up, will also testify, and he will say he was in the room when such comments were made. And that Christopher was speaking in the context of the boasts that Carl Patton used to make, who was a known killer. We'll have evidence in this trial that early in their relationship, Carl hired Christopher to help him in the roofing business. Chris spent time around Carl and heard him say these things. Even Chrissy will admit that when Christopher made such comments, it was contextual within a discussion and had nothing to do with Melissa whatsoever. Chrissy will also admit that everything she knows about the case, she learned from Norma Patton. Remember what I said at the outset. The state's going to present little points of circumstantial evidence, and they're going to ask you to use your imagination to fill in the gaps. Here are some of the gaps I want you to pay attention to. The state will not present any evidence of a cause of death. The state will not present any evidence of a murder weapon. The evidence obviously will show that there were remains that were discovered and that there were marks on the bones. But those wounds are all post-mortem. The state will present you with no evidence of how she died. The state will present no evidence of when she died or where she died. The state will present you with no evidence of where she was dismembered or when or how she was dismembered. They won't present any evidence of how she was transported to this site in the condition that she was. The state will provide claims about a saw that went missing from Christopher's work, allegedly around the time that Christopher was there. No evidence will show, even though the state claims otherwise, that he stole a saw from them, or that he was terminated for that reason. Furthermore, there's no proof that the kind of tool that actually made the marks on these bones was a saw. If so, what kind of saw? We have no evidence of what type of saw it would have been. We've got no evidence that will show that markings are distinctive of this reciprocating saw that was taken versus the circular saw he mentioned when he started his story. Furthermore, your common sense will tell you that there are about a literal million saws in the state of Georgia. Anybody can access a saw. Anyone can access a wide variety of types of saws. You'll hear from investigators from the APD. They will admit that once Melissa's remains were identified, they searched Christopher and Melissa's house on Brookline Street. They searched every inch of the home, inside, outside, every room, basement. They sprayed the entire house with a reactive agent that discovers drops of blood. Not a single drop was found. They took paint samples from every room. Why? Because when Melissa's head was examined, there were chips of paint in her hair. There were synthetic fibers in her hair. And forensic evidence will show that. The fibers were in fact found to be consistent with some kind of a bath mat or even a carpet. Very broad category. When Melissa's remains were the paint samples of her remains did not match any of the paint samples from Christopher's house. There was no match of any fiber from Christopher's house. A pubic hair was found on Melissa's remains. Christopher willingly submitted his pubic hair samples. They didn't match. Head hair samples were found. Christopher submitted head hair samples. The head hair samples didn't match. The medical examiners in this case made DNA analysis of the head almost impossible because one of the medical examiners or anthropologists soaked it in bleach. But the technology still won out in the end. The plastic bags in which the remains have been kept were recently re-examined using the most powerful DNA testing available in modern times, detecting trace amounts of DNA. And sure enough, one of those bags returned a profile that was viable for testing against subjects. It said there were at least 5 human contributors touching this bag. 2 of them were male. Christopher submitted his DNA. It didn't match. So the state has some huge gaps it needs to fill. And here's how we anticipate that they're going to try to fill that gap. We expect the state will also call a witness who is somewhat of an expert in the area of domestic violence or abuse. Perhaps you think, well, there's no DNA, there's no fiber evidence, there's no trace evidence in the paint chips, the really important evidence must be in the domestic abuse. But just as with the DNA and the paint chips and the fiber, etc., the expert will offer no support for the prosecution's theory in this case, and here's why. She doesn't know anything about the case. She's never interviewed Chris. She's never read a single police report. She's never even talked to the DAs about the facts of this case. Instead, she's simply going to say that she is a domestic violence expert and tell you signs and symptoms of domestic violence. We anticipate that their testimony on those matters will do nothing to prove that Christopher Wolfenbarger is a cold-blooded murderer. She doesn't know anything about him. She knows nothing. And we will ask you when trial is over to reject that level of fake expert testimony. Another thing, the state's going to offer evidence to say Christopher was the last person to see Melissa alive in December of 1998. You've already heard that. But other evidence is going to show that Melissa's sister, Tina, actually saw her the following spring. At that time, Christopher had already long moved out of the area. Although Carl Patton was serving 5 life sentences in prison throughout this whole period up until he died last December, that did not stop Norma Patton from firmly expecting he would be paroled at some point. And she began looking into his parole within about 12 years after his life sentence had been served, his first out of 4 or 5. And the law technically at the time allowed for someone serving a life sentence to be eligible for parole after 14 years of service in prison. The evidence is going to show you that Norma operated on the belief that the only reason Carl had not been paroled was because his son-in-law, Christopher, had not yet been arrested. She will state explicitly out of her own mouth in a police interview that she believed that as soon as Christopher would be locked up, her husband would be released to come home. And she worked tirelessly for years with the DAs, with the police, and with media campaigns to make sure that happened. Ironically, the evidence will show that the investigators spent hardly any time at all investigating these other potential suspects. No hair samples were taken from them, no DNA samples were taken from them, no pubic hair samples, no searches of their homes, no paint chip samples taken from their houses. No one took DNA samples for this reason from the sister or the accused molester in her home or the friend down the road or anyone else. The evidence will show at most that Melissa somehow died and that someone tried to dispose of parts of her body. The evidence will show that everything beyond that is speculation and imagination. The evidence, as I said, won't show you a cause of death, a weapon, an instrument of death, an incident that led to her death, who dismembered or transported or scattered her remains. There will not be proof beyond a reasonable doubt in this case. There's no DNA, there's no high-powered technology, there's no expert testimony, there's no fiber evidence, no surveillance, no snitches, no co-conspirators, no confession, no eyewitnesses. The evidence will show that the state expects you to fill in all those missing gaps with your imagination. There is no evidence of these charges in this case, and that's why we will ask you at the end of this case to return a verdict of not guilty.
Wow. This is...
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about 12:15, and so we are going to break for lunch, and when we return, we'll begin the evidence presentation portion of the trial. So it is 12:12. We're going to call it 12:15 and break until 1:15 for you to get lunch. Jurors are excused if the deputy will please escort them out of the room.
All right, for the jury.
We're gonna skip through this. Oh, that chair needs some WD-40. Let's see if we can skip ahead and. Well, maybe they're going to argue some stuff without the jury here. Hang on. There's the defendant. You can barely see him. I know nothing about this case other than what the mods have been sharing in chat. The audio was terrible. It was only in one ear. we're trying to clean it up a little bit because a lot of people asked me if I would please do that. So I'm here. We have another husband.
Maybe seated. Any matters we need to put on the record before we also adjourn for lunch?
Not from the state. Not from the defendant.
Okay. We are excused. If y'all, I don't know what the plan is for witness presentation, but I do. Do we need to resolve the photographs issue when we return from lunch?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So that's. After I said I apologize, after I said you're excused, I realized I actually need you guys to come back at 12. I'm sorry, at 1 instead of 1:15, so that we'll just have a few minutes to talk through those issues. Thank you all. We are in recess until 1.
Okay, so they go to recess. We're going to skip ahead so we don't miss anything. So we don't have to sit here and watch the clock turn, which it does for an hour.
Angles or something.
Wait for it. All right. And let's come back. They're coming back from lunch here right now. So we're skipping ahead a little bit. That was a good yawl. That was as Georgia yawl as you're going to get. Give it a minute. Lunch is over. Hope you enjoyed it.
Okay.
Have a yes or no sir counter.
Sorry, I'm a little bit late. We're also missing a juror, so they've got a few minutes to get here. But
nice.
So I've had a chance to look, Madam Court Reporter. We're ready to go on the record after we get Mr. Wolfenbarger. Thank you, sir.
You may have 2 days of witness.
2 days of witnesses? This being a cold case, it presents a lot of challenges. Remember, hopefully you don't remember too much about the Mark Jensen trial, but that also was a case that had happened a long time ago, and so the witnesses were old. You know, they'd retired. They'd been out of work for years. Retired people had passed away that testified in the first trial. You're going to run into the same things in this trial. But if the defense is right in what they said, and they were sort of all over the place in their closing, this is going to be a tough one to prove for the state. You don't have a cause of death. You don't have a location of death.
Okay, we are back on the record after our lunch break. Mr. Wolfenbarger is present here in the courtroom. And the purpose of our gathering before the jury returns for the afternoon session was to discuss and see about giving y'all rulings on the photographs issue. So during lunch, I had an opportunity to review the email that Mr. Fawcett forwarded to me. That was an email from Mr. McDermott regarding his objections to certain photographs. I've also had a chance to review the flash drive that was provided to me, which was a PDF of the various photographs, most of which are not objected to. I think my understanding is that the state had attempted to limit the photographs to some extent, and that Mr. McDermott was accepted that as many of them that are in the PDF would be admitted, and that the ones we have still pending as objections have been identified by Mr. McDermott specifically by number. And so I'd like to just sort of take them up in turn and understanding that the baseline here is these are gruesome photos because of the nature, the manner in which Ms. Wolfenbarger's body was disposed of, and that the manner in which the ME does its work and documents its work, that those things are necessarily gruesome and graphic. And so The question then becomes, are they relevant? And if they are relevant, are they overly prejudicial or for some other reason cumulative, et cetera? Mr. McDermott, if you want to start, I think your first one was photo number 35.
I'm trying to locate the file that has all
Sure,
we're talking about.
that's fine.
I seem to have lost the email. Oh, I remember. Now I have that in the folder.
This trial's out of Fulton County, Georgia.
Just 1 minute, please.
Yes, sir.
The same county that Judge Manning is in. Might
Okay,
skip
and
through
the
some of
number
this
again, please.
to get through testimony.
35, which, so it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that at least the first few that you're objecting to, 35 through 51, 53, you might have additional objections, but it also seems as if your objection is to them in that clinical context, in the medical examiner's possession on like a white table, as opposed to, for example, Exhibit 16, which is also a photograph of the head that was recovered, but in the field as it was discovered.
Yeah, I just felt that I don't see what that adds. It's not necessary to complete any part of the medical examiner's testimony, and I think it's just cumulative in that sense.
Okay. As we move on to 39 through 42, which again, I think it's fair to describe as sort of various photographs of admittedly a body part that I actually can't recognize by what it looks like.
Which one, the first one?
39 through 42, I just have them labeled generally as body parts. One of them might be a leg, but I don't know what I'm looking at because I don't have that training, so.
The judge wears her robe like a cape.
We have pictures of body, I think that exact body part in the field. We have a picture of the black bag just like that already in the field. I don't see what it adds to the medical examiner's testimony to show the same photograph in the same way, just on a different table instead of the ground. So I just think that's cumulative and unnecessary.
Okay, so I did look through all of the photographs, and although I did note there's a relatively close-up photograph of the head, Exhibit 16, in the field. I saw distant photographs and closer-up photographs. Maybe 21 is a closer-up photograph, but the rest of them seem to be in the field, seem to be in plastic bags, as opposed to the actual body part that was recovered from inside the plastic bag.
21.
Yeah, the 21, I agree with you, does appear to be one body part that was not housed in a bag, and the photograph is taken of it in the field, and it's a close-up. The rest of the photographs that I see in the field seem to either be not close-ups or of plastic bags. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Fawcett or Mr. Wilson, but I assume that the state's evidence is going to be that these were recovered to the extent they were in plastic bags at the scene, enough to ensure there were body parts in it, and then it was the medical examiner's job to remove those bags?
That's correct, Judge.
Okay. And what about Mr. McDermott, 44 through 47?
Same objection.
Lots of objections from the defense about all these pictures.
And then 50. I don't even know what 50 is. Is it a tooth?
I believe that's, and this is from me talking to Dr. Terry, and
Yes,
she
sir.
wasn't even certain. But she thought it was like a top of the leg at the knee, and that's the cartilage between the knee joints, but maybe,
Okay.
maybe not.
Okay.
Poor jury.
This was maybe because I don't know what it is or didn't recognize it upon seeing it, probably the least offensive of the photographs that I saw.
Gory, it's almost like, rock collecting or something.
Right. But what is the nature of your objection to that particular one?
What does that do for the medical examiner's testimony because we're trying to get to the nature of the charges in this case. What does that lend to, relevant to her testimony toward those charges? I don't see any necessity. So we've got just one more body part. It's random. Doesn't really apply to anything. We don't even know what it is.
And she wasn't even sure. What are we talking about?
I'm fine with removing that one, Judge.
Okay. We will remove 50. Okay. And then we move on to 51, which seems to be a collection of the various body parts. Is this after cleaning or before?
I think that was before cleaning. I think that is before, Judge.
Okay.
Well, clearly some of the bones have been stripped of any flesh that was on them. So I think you're looking at some of...
Well, that's why I asked the question. Do some of those bones, did they have flesh on them when they were collected? I don't know.
I'm not aware from any description of what was collected in the field and taken from the bags that they were just bones when they came out.
Okay.
So I think these are all, or at least the ones that are just bones here, have been stripped by the medical examiner.
Well, certainly, I don't know why the top portion of the leg, I don't know why that would be, why that wouldn't be stripped, and the ones at the bottom would. But I know that some of the testimony that I expect is that there was at least one animal that had gotten to the bag. There was the possibility of other animals, because the body parts were out in that wooded area for several months. And I would say in hot conditions, which one thing that doctors will say is they can't, because of the conditions and the variables, they can't say what rate of decomposition there was. And the other point I would say to that is there's going to be some manipulation of the remains so that the medical examiner can examine and look at potential damage. For instance, I don't find anything particularly gruesome about just looking at a bone itself, especially one that's been stripped of flesh, if that's what indeed happened. But the bone in the condition that it is in the photographs when they're examined it allow them to see the damage to it. That's what allows them to see the appearance of assault, striking the bone. So for that reason alone, that visual image should be allowed to be displayed for the jury. It aids the testimony of the expert, and it allows for that expert to explain why they believe there are signs of assault on the bones of Melissa Walker.
Okay. And then I have 53, 54, 57, and 59, which at least to my untrained eye, in the absence of evidence, seemed to me to be an effort to document alleged saw marks, tool marks on the bones.
Yeah, and I was trying to make an effort to include at least one example of each one of those that's independent. But where they're double pictures of the same thing, I think it's cumulative and unnecessary. That's also why I think that, we've got these close-ups where there are tool marks. That's why we don't need a whole table with the bones laid out. That you can't see any tool marks from that distance anyway. That's just cumulative and gory for no other reason. Doesn't document anything the medical examiner did except take the flesh off the bones. But, and maybe I missed one, that's fine, I'll hear about it, but as far as going through the list, I tried to include one example of each specimen that had tool marks that was unique. And I only object to the ones I thought was cumulative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one second, Mr. Fawcett, because I am going to let you respond. So to be clear, I didn't just limit my review to the numbers that Mr. McDermott mentioned, right? I was looking at them as trying to take them as a whole with particular attention to the ones that you had asserted, looking for things like needless accumulation that would just be gory for no reason versus particular reasons. Again, without any context, I don't know if, for example, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58 are different bones with saw marks in them or different angles of the same saw marks on the same
skipping
bone.
ahead to the next witness. This is not extremely...
I can't tell you with definitive accuracy, but my inclination was
critical.
54, 55 were the same, just different angles.
And Mr. Fawcett, the point of my asking that question is I believe that the presence of tool marks and the demonstration of them is relevant. Nobody's going to enjoy that process, but it's relevant and needs to be presented. If it is different bones, right, saw marks on multiple bones, I don't think that's cumulative. If it is, unless you anticipate that the medical examiner is going to say that there is a specific reason for two different photographs from, say, two different angles or something like that of saw marks on the same bone, then I would ask the state to endeavor to further limit the photographs. Yeah. So to Mr. That's okay, sorry. So to Mr. McDermott's point, if it is 3 angles of the same saw marks on the same bone, then perhaps one would be sufficient, unless you're going to tell me that the medical examiner has a particular reason for having taken that photograph in the manner at which it was taken in order to enable them to conduct their examination.
Okay, we're going to skip ahead a little bit as they argue about these pictures. Let's see, I think we're going to be about right here. Let's see what happens right here. They call in the witnesses.
Best way to do it.
Jury.
Okay. State's ready. Mr. McDermott, is defense ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're ready for the jurors.
You will bring the jury. I know there's an audio issue at some point today that's where there's just no audio. I think Court TV is trying to fix that with doing a rebroadcast at some point. I haven't seen it yet. This is a terribly complex case, as many cold cases are. Gory with a million different angles and details. What game show was I on? Oh, man. I was almost an extra in a movie once. It was a hockey
Oh, please
movie.
be seated.
I think. I've ever been on a game show.
State may call its first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls George McEachern.
Okay.
This is a side of Miss Hilton we don't normally see. She was facing the other direction in the YSL trial. She was on the prosecution, which that courtroom was on the other side of the table, and the camera was...
And if you'll turn around, sir, so that you'll be facing sort of this general direction towards the deputy, where the deputy's standing, if you can. Turn a little bit more so you're facing the deputy so you won't have your back to the jury. That's good, sir. Now, are you able to raise your right hand, sir? Okay. If you would, thank you.
You may lower your right hand, state and spell your name for the record, please.
George W. McEachern. That is spelled W-M-C after D-A-C-H-E-R-N.
Okay. Mr. McEachern, this is the judge talking. I'm behind you, so don't worry about that. If you could, just because you don't have a microphone, if you could just try to speak up when you're answering questions to make sure everyone in the courtroom can hear you. Okay, sir? Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. And you live in Atlanta, sir?
I do, sir.
How long have you lived there?
48 years.
48 years.
And did you ever live in the area of Avon Avenue, in the general area?
Jury, we're trying to...
Do you still live there? How long have you lived at your present address?
4.5 years or 12.5 years?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. What did you do? What did you do for a living?
I once anything for Margaret Sack.
I apologize. We can't hear him.
Hold on a second, sir. Should I try to get the microphone?
I'd say give it a try.
The prosecutor mouths the words of that he's hearing. We've seen this before, right? When the prosecutor mouths the words, it can be, if depending on how quickly they mouth the same words, it could appear that they're feeding the lines to the witness, especially if they know what the witness is going to say next. So watch for that. The cameraman's trying to maneuver a little bit because the jury box just protrudes so far into the courtroom, and he's tucked in the corner behind the jury box. And as he tries to pan over to a witness, he is getting juror's hair. So we're trying to
tape together.
Trying to maneuver. He's probably moving.
Yes, please.
The position the camera's allowed to be in is generally selected by the judge ahead of time.
It's coming though. I can see it moving.
All right.
I don't know why he's in a wheelchair. We're just learning about this case and some of the facts associated with it. We only picked up this channel, this case, first of all, because we don't have one right now, and the audio was just so terrible on the openings, and I knew that I could fix it and make it a little easier to hear. Okay, I'm not sure how long the audio stays out.
You see if you can get closer to the microphone that we have there for you, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Yes, for now.
The jury has to be able to see him.
Hang on. I apologize.
I believe he's in a wheelchair as well.
Why don't you have him come to the podium, and against all directions, we're going to have him move. We're going to move the microphone.
No.
Thank you.
This causes problems. Don't move the mics.
Just bend it down towards me. I'm going to have him right here. Yes, ma'am. And then, Mr. McEachern, if you could turn a little bit more and face the jury, please, sir. And now
there goes our audio. So we might skip ahead until we get audio back again. Hollyland Mark.
Yes, George W. McEachern.
Much better, sir.
Last name spelled capital MC, capital EACHERN.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. And do you remember in April, at the end of April of 1999, an unusual thing you found on Avon Avenue?
Yes, I went for a walk that morning to the bank, and on my way back, I came up Avon Avenue, and
And what did you see?
I saw a head, a human head that was laying in the street. So I walked up to it, and I looked down at it, and I saw it was a head.
How did you know it was a head?
Well, through my training in martial science and funeral directing, I recognize human heads.
He was a funeral director?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I've seen them before.
I took a stick and I moved it out of the street to the curb of the road.
Why did you do that?
So it would be intact. I didn't want anybody, another vehicle to come and crack it up. So I moved it to the corner.
Could you repeat the last part where you said, I think you said crack it?
I did not want a vehicle to come and run over their head and deform it.
Crack it up.
'Cause I saw it belonged to somebody.
He saw that belongs. Whoa.
What did you use to move it?
I broke off a stick. And I took the stick and I was trying to push it over to the curb.
Did you see anything else unusual on Avon Avenue on that day? I mean, was there any other things that you can recall?
Well, I didn't know some birds, some birds flying up in the air, looked like buzzards.
Okay.
And I recognized that might have been the reason why they were there. But I told the officer after I called them that I thought there could be something else out there in the woods because the buzzards were still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, after you found the skull, what did you do next?
I went home. I got my daughter because she was in criminal justice.
Okay.
And I wanted her to see the head.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did your daughter come with you?
She did.
And what did you do next?
Called the police.
Okay.
Called 911.
And after you called 911, how long did it take? Do you remember how long it took the police to get there?
That recognition survey right now. It wasn't long. But right now I cannot recall how long it was.
Okay.
But they
you
did.
think it was long?
No, I didn't think it was long. But
How many police? Do you remember how many police showed up?
No.
Was it just one or more than one?
I don't know. I know there were one.
Okay.
I do know there were one. There could have been more than one, okay?
Because you talked to the one?
Yeah, I talked to the one. Yeah.
Okay. And did you do any? Did you go anywhere after you initially told the police out on the scene? Did you go anywhere with the police?
Sort of leading him through his statement here. Long time ago.
I do know I had to go downtown.
Okay.
But I can't recall whether it was the same day or not, or whether it was a few days later. But I do know I went down to the Atlanta Police Department.
Okay.
I think it was down there, Georgia State College, Ponce Leon, somewhere down in there.
You went to the headquarters?
I went to the headquarters, I think it was.
And
You-
I assume you told them what you saw?
I told them the same thing I'm telling you now. Yeah.
And do you remember if you gave any statement or had to sign a statement or anything, just saying what you did?
I'm pretty sure I had to, sir. I'm pretty sure I had to.
Let's see if they use the statement. If they're able to use the statement, which is going to be obviously a better recollection than
I'm going to
now,
show you a piece
20
of paper.
years later.
Do you recognize that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that your signature?
That's my signature.
Yeah. Could you read it real quickly? Is that the statement that you gave?
Sir, I'm going to be honest with you in the courts. When I gave this report, I was walking, I was younger, I could see better.
Well, can you read it?
And right now, I cannot make this out.
Okay.
They too damn around. I don't have my glasses with me.
Are they around?
I don't know, but baby, have my glasses like that.
Baby, where's my glasses?
Mr. Wilson, just to clarify, are you asking the witness to read it to himself, or are you asking him to read it out loud?
read it to himself to see
Thank
if it refreshes any recollection.
Okay.
These are your wives, and she said to try them?
Thank you.
Is that what I just heard?
Do you need some assistance, sir? Apparently not.
What you want me to do with this?
Does that help you?
Yes. You may read it to myself.
Yeah, read it to yourself real quick.
Okay.
You can already tell this trial is going to be absolutely nuts. No, that wasn't his wife. That was, I think, a bailiff or something, maybe a victim advocate or I don't know what. Said, these are your wives. She said to try them or something like that. They can share. They have similar prescriptions. At one point, anything is better, right?
It's true, all but a few, maybe a few sentences.
Do you know?
I was driving. I wasn't driving. I was walking at the time.
I apologize. I think you
Say
said.
that again?
Yeah.
I wasn't driving. I was walking at the time.
Okay.
The statement says he was driving.
Does that help refresh your recollection
Yeah,
at all?
sure, it does.
Do you remember finding anything else other than a human head?
I don't.
Okay. Now, how long have you lived? You've lived in Atlanta your whole life?
No.
Where else did you live?
No.
How long have you lived in Atlanta?
Ever since 1960.
Ever since 1960?
Yes.
And Avon Avenue, is that located in Fulton County?
It is.
May I just have one moment, Your Honor?
Sure. Thank you. Mr. McDermott, questions for this witness?
Just a couple, Your Honor.
Sure.
Good afternoon.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Just a couple questions.
Okay.
You said you informed the officer on the scene that there were buzzards certainly overhead. Is that correct?
I did.
And did they go over and check anything else, to your knowledge?
I don't know. They told me they were going to, but I think what happened, a few days later, somebody came by my house and told me that they had found another body part, and they were going to try to match the head with that body part. However,
Better be a neck.
as far as I can remember, sir, it wasn't in Atlanta they had found that body part. I think he told me to find somewhere near Griffin, Macon, or somewhere down in the area. Somebody told me they had found a body part, and they were trying to mess it up. And that's the last I heard of that.
Is this a walk that you took every day or frequently?
No, this was a walk that I decided I wanted to walk that morning to the bank.
Did you ever normally travel up and down Avon Avenue?
Sometimes.
Did you ever notice any dogs?
Brother, there are homes in that area. I'm sure there's dogs in that area
Did you
also.
ever see any when you were traveling up and down Avon Avenue?
Yeah,
Do you remember? All right, thank you.
No.
That's all the question I have.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
No redirect, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. McEachern, you are excused as a witness. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Got the motorized chair. Does not crash into the camera. That's
Your
good.
Honor, we would call Dale Kelly.
Okay.
See if we can get the microphone moved back so we can hear the prosecution and defense questions. There's the defendant there on
You
the
could
end.
move that mic back.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we're all going to try not to touch it again. Thank you.
Don't touch the mics.
Before you have a seat, if you'll turn and face the deputy and raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give for the shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
You may go right now and be seated and say, spell your name for the court, please.
Careful. That chair is on wheels and there's a ledge next to you, so
Yeah,
make
sure.
sure and stay closer to me than the edge, okay? Thank you, sir.
Might lose a
L-D-A-L-E,
witness.
Kelly, K-E-L-L-E-Y.
And what do you do for a living, sir?
Retired,
What did you do before you were retired?
law enforcement for 42 years.
And let's go through your law enforcement career. Where did you first become a law enforcement officer?
In 1979 in the city of Atlanta.
And when you were hired, did you have to get? Well, tell us about your hiring at the city of Atlanta.
July 2nd, 1979 was the first day I started the Atlanta Police Academy. We were there for 12 weeks, and then after you got out of that, you rode with a senior officer for 12 more weeks in field training. I became a patrol officer. I was assigned to Zone 1, which is northwest Atlanta at that time. 83, I was promoted to detective. I did vice for about 6 months. That was during Eldon Bell. He thought all new detectives needed to go undercover and then come out and get in a regular division. I went to sex crimes, and I worked in sex crimes, total of 13 years, but whenever they had a sexually related homicide, I would get pulled over and help the homicide detectives work a sexually related homicide. And then in 1996, I was permanently assigned to homicide.
Were you post-certified?
Yes.
Are you still post-certified?
No, I do not keep my mandated.
Okay. And when did you leave the city of Atlanta?
I retired in 2000 from the city of Atlanta, went to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, worked there, started in the jail, worked patrol. I went to CID. From CID, I made sergeant, and I was a night shift sergeant for a patrol shift. And then I went to the fugitive unit, the warrant unit in plain clothes. And then from there I made lieutenant and was over the transport and civil division.
Now, did you receive any specialized training in investigations?
Yes, I mean, I've been as far as California on missing persons, violent crime network training. I've been to Valencia College 3 or 4 times on advanced sex crimes, advanced homicide, crimes, and like that.
Now, during 1999 and around April, could you describe what you were in the homicide division at that time?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury what happens when you get how does that work? Or how do you get assigned cases or what?
Well, okay. You were on a rotation system where you were up on call, and if anybody called for a homicide unit, you would answer and go wherever they asked you to go. You didn't go by yourself. Half the time, the whole unit would go. You were just the lead, and they would do other jobs needed at the scene.
And when you say lead, what does that mean to you?
You were up on call and the case was going to get assigned to you.
And when you're lead, what kind of things do you focus on?
Well, you get to the scene, you try to focus on directing the identification people to do fingerprints some places, sometimes you don't, take pictures and stuff like that. You may ask some, like the officer, the first responding officer, if there's a witness at the scene or something, you get the officer to take himself and the witness to the homicide office where they could give statements.
And let me draw your attention specifically to April 29th, 1999. I assume you were on call that day.
Yes.
And did you receive a call regarding a unexplained, well, I mean, what kind of call did you receive that day?
The way it works is Zone 3 Unit 2304, which meant he was a day shift unit working 304's beat, came over detective radio and called for a homicide unit. Each zone, and Atlanta still has 6 zones, they all have their own radio frequency. Detective division had their own frequency, and they would just switch their radio over to the detective frequency and call for a homicide unit.
So it was your turn?
It was my turn.
And where were you told you needed to report to?
He told me to come to the intersection of Avon and Hartford Way, southwest in Atlanta.
And what did you do?
I got in the car with the lieutenant, and investigator Tina Miller also rode with the lieutenant, Tony Biello, and we rode to that location.
And why did investigator Miller accompany you?
Again, on a homicide, you need as many people as you can out there. We didn't know what we had other than a unit calling for us, and we could always use help.
Okay, so she went along?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you got to that location, what did you observe?
When I rolled up, there was a decomposing head in the road standing upright. There's an old black plastic bag to the side, and there was an old mangy, like a stray dog with matted hair and all, kind of nasty, running around out there.
Okay. And do you recall where that skull was located?
It was on the side of the roadway it was actually on the Avon side, because we used the address of 858 Avon Avenue.
Now, when you're investigating a crime scene, is it important to document information?
It is, yes.
And you document through reports and also pictures?
Well, you call for I didn't take the pictures. I called for our ID section to come take the pictures, and it's up to them to document their pictures.
Okay. No, what I mean is that it's important to take pictures of crime scenes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. May I approach a witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 3 through State's Exhibit 20. Could you please look at those and tell the jury what those are?
They're pictures of the general area of where it was located, and ID had saw certain objects. They put the little plackets up at, and it's.
Could you look through those, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's that little fact, Kaylee. It's true. Virginia, that's what the that sounds like something the defense needs to introduce. Doubt.
Those true and accurate pictures of what you observed that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd ask to admit States 3 through Exhibit 20, which are photos of the scene.
No objection.
Okay, Mr. Samuel, thank you. Exhibits 3 through 20 are admitted.
And I would ask to publish some of the pictures to the jury as we go through the testimony as far as a warning.
Thank you. That's what I was waiting for you to ask.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as we discussed during the process of jury selection, I told you that I would warn you when we were going to show you photographs that are maybe graphic in nature. So I'm giving you a heads up that some of these photographs may be graphic in nature. Thank you. State may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Get the door. It's DiGiorno.
Okay.
We don't have to worry
Show you
about
what's been marked
they're
as
not gonna
what's
show
been
us.
admitted as State's Exhibit number 3.
Oh, they showed us.
Could you kind of describe that picture in detail for the jury as best you can?
It's a
Little heads up.
overall shot of the area where the head was found.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Sir, I'm sorry.
If
It's
you
the
can pull that microphone towards you, I think that'll be easier as well.
It's an overall shot of the area where the head was found, and the head's actually in the photo to the left here, or my left sitting looking at it, and you see where the patrol cars had blocked off the street.
But I do see some yellow things with numbers on them. What are those?
Plackets. ID team uses, they see stuff, or maybe an investigator will point out to put a placket, take a picture so that it can be described later in their reports.
Okay.
Let me just go ahead and get this up on the screen here while we can. Trying to do a content warning, but it's not working for me. There we go. We might see something more than what we just saw. LAB says, don't worry, they won't show us. I say, okay, they're not going to show us. Don't worry, I'll trust Allie. Wait, there's the head. Sorry. Allie, it's all good. Thank you so much.
What other items were there other than the placards?
Well, there.
I'm sorry. What other items were there than the skull that you described earlier?
There was a black plastic bag. It appeared to have decomposition in it, hair, and fluids.
And was that significant to you as an investigator?
Yeah. Later, when the cadaver dogs were called out, other body parts were found in the black plastic bag, and also had fluid in it that ended up being bleach.
Okay. So when you saw those pieces of evidence, I assume that was kind of the first thing that was kind of done at the scene?
Yes. I cannot legally touch any body out there. It's all up to the medical examiner. I can look at it, I can have photographs taken of it, I can note it, but that's entirely up to the medical examiner's office to do any collection of body or body parts.
Were they contacted? Did you guys contact them or?
Yeah, they came out to the scene.
Okay, do you recall who came out to the scene?
Mary Beth Happel and Dr. John Parker. The Mary Beth is an investigator for Fulton County Medical Examiner, and Dr. Parker was a medical examiner.
Okay. And what did you do? What did you do next?
Well, we started. Hard to run an investigation if you don't know who your victim is, and this one's even doubly hard. We didn't know what sex the person was.
Why is that?
The decomposition of the facial and the torso, we never found it. So you couldn't ever determine a sex at that time. The feeling is the torso contains the guts of thing, and it would smell more, and the animals out there would have eaten it quicker.
Okay.
Scattered.
Do you recall what the conditions were like that morning?
Yeah, I noted it.
Would you have noted that in your report?
Yeah. As I rode over with Lieutenant Biello and Investigator Miller, the weather conditions to be overcast with a intermittent mist, and the temperature was in the low 60s with a brisk breeze.
So after you got there and after the medical examiner got there, what did you do next?
Nothing. Could do much other than make a report.
Did you talk to any? Do you remember speaking to any witnesses?
Well, there's a gentleman who had found the head. Gentleman's just in a wheelchair, but he wasn't in a wheelchair at that time. I talked with him. I sent him to the homicide office to give a statement, and the officer on the scene took him there for a statement.
Do you recall any other actions that you did out there at the scene that day?
That day, no.
So at this point, all you had was a skull and some plastic bags, pretty much.
Yeah.
Did anything? Did you find anything else? And on a different day?
On a different day, yes. That's.
Were you called back out to the scene?
Yes, went back out there with the medical examiner's office. They had gotten in some cadaver dogs from Cobb County. These people who owned the dogs were not associated with law enforcement in any way. They were just citizens who trained their dogs to become cadaver dogs and would help agencies as they needed it.
How does a citizen do that?
They came back out there, and that's when we started finding hands, feet, and other body parts. They were also in a black plastic bag like I described earlier, and they were always double wrapped. There was always 2 bags per body part. That trying to make sense with me there.
And I don't know, I don't know if you said, do you recall what date you went out to the scene?
The first, it was April 29th, and then this was June 3rd.
So that's approximately, what, a
month and a half later.
Month and a half later?
To get it set up.
Now, is the president, you mentioned bleach earlier. I'm sorry. You mentioned bleach earlier.
Yes.
Is that significant to collection of DNA?
Not for the collection, for the destroying of DNA.
Your Honor, you've not been given an expert notice with regard to this witness.
Your response?
Well, Your Honor, I think that's not. I think it's something that a police officer can, based on police officers' evidence collection, could probably could testify to as within their knowledge.
Okay. If you want to lay that foundation, I likely will allow it. Overruled for now, Mr. Samuel. Go ahead.
But lay the foundation.
Okay. Did you learn about bleach?
Well, DNA it's not the same as today. This was in the beginning stages of DNA. And a lot of things would interfere with DNA. When I worked sex crimes, if there was anal sodomy, the feces would ruin the DNA and you couldn't test it. Learned that bleach and
Where did you
training
learn that?
classes I took.
Okay.
That would hurt DNA. Nowadays, they probably can do it even if there's bleach on
Well,
it.
what did you learn about bleach at that time through training?
That it would interfere with the ability to do DNA evidence with what they had to test with at that time.
Your Honor, at this time, I believe I've laid the foundation based on his training.
He laid a foundation.
I notice of him being an expert. So if he's giving expert testimony about DNA, we were entitled to be given notice of that.
Okay. I understand your objection, but it's going to be overruled, and to the limited extent you've been asked the question, I'm going to let him answer it. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think he's already answered it.
I think he has.
Okay. What did you do? After you went out and on the in June? What did you do next on this case?
There's nothing I could do until, again, you can't start much of an investigation until you know who the person, what sex the person is, who the person is. You have nowhere to start. So Investigator Miller, who worked adult missing persons, is assigned to homicide. She would attempt to identify the body. Medical examiner's office was trying to identify. They could hook up with other medical examiner's offices and do the thing, and hook up and see if they had any information. I retired in 2000.
Okay, well, and that was, you never got an answer by the time you retired?
No.
Okay. May I just have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Samuel?
Detective Kelly, my name is.
My name is.
It won't happen a second time.
That's okay.
Don't touch the mic.
It won't.
It will.
It won't happen a third time. Detective Kelly, I don't believe we've met before, even though we've been around a long time together. So a couple questions. First of all, you said something about a dog on the scene. Do you have any reason to believe that that dog had ever moved the skull at all?
I believe so. I believe the dog drug it out of the woods. And
Oh, you're just speculating about that?
there was a video, VHS recording.
Can you stick with the microphone?
There was a VHS recording at one time that showed the dog dragging the bag out of the woods. Now, I don't know where it's
Dragging
at
the
now.
bag with the skull out of the woods?
Yes.
There was no detectives out there until after the skull was already there.
VHS recording. That's a security camera. It's so old. It was
Where is the evidence of that?
I'm sorry?
Has anybody ever had evidence of that? Is that in any police report anywhere?
I don't know.
Are you just kind of making it up today?
No.
What?
I've read every report you've ever written, every report every other detective has
you
written.
haven't written all written. There are reports missing. I don't know why, but there are some reports missing.
Have you told the DAs there are reports missing?
Yeah. But I mean,
Which DA did you tell that there are reports missing?
Oh, we have a problem.
Gentleman here just questioned me
Uh-huh.
that I had more reports in this file and they're not.
And
nowhere
where's
to
the,
be
where's
found.
the, where's the VHS?
I
Georgia.
don't know.
Did you tell them there was a VHS recording that's missing? You told
Yes.
Mr. Wilson that? When did you tell him that?
The other day when he called me.
You told him the other day?
Sir?
You told him the other day?
Yes.
Is there a
Called
reason?
me last week. Yeah.
And what else did the recording show?
This might be the last
Just
day of
that.
trial.
Did it show how the skull got there at all?
Just what I described.
A dog pulling it out of the woods. Where from what part of the woods?
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's not in your report. You know that.
I'm telling you, I have reports missing out of this file. This is not my whole file.
Take your time.
This witness just laid a golden egg for the defense. Oh my goodness.
It's from the wooded area where we returned with the cadaver dogs. It was coming from that area where the other bodily parts were found in the woods.
What did the dog look like?
Like it was a stray dog. The hair was all matted and nasty looking.
Was there any dog hair found on the skull?
I don't know.
Was there any testing done of the skull to show that a dog had moved it?
I don't know how you do that because it was remember the black plastic bag? It was ripped open. The dog was toting the bag and it fell out.
And you saw a video of that?
Yes.
What did you do with the video?
It was put in evidence.
And it's not there now.
You know, I think we need to take a break and talk to the district attorney's office for a moment here.
Okay.
Jury.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to step out for just a few minutes. It's 2:21. I'll try and get you back in here as quick as we can. Thank you all.
All right, public hearing.
Why does this matter? Why does this matter? When the prosecution knows something that could be key to the defense, like how the head got on the road, it might not be, on the surface like, oh, we've got video of someone else committing the crime. It still could be very key to his defense, and it must be turned over. And if the prosecutor knew
Moment, please. Yes, sir.
this was
Thank
missing,
you. Don't wander far, okay?
you have to turn that information over. Pages missing out of the report.
Mr. Samuel, that witness has now left the room.
Well, I have a couple questions. I'd like to know, first of all, whether Mr. Wilson will either corroborate or dispute that he's been given information about video camera evidence that's lost, his reports that are lost, evidence that they knew that the dog had dragged the skull out of the woods into the road. There's no police report about it, and now it turns out his actual statements are missing, all of which apparently he told the DA's office, none of which even comes close to ever having been revealed to us, ever.
Mr. Wilson?
If I could respond to this, Judge, because I was talking directly with this witness on this issue. If
Okay.
you allow it.
Well,
I want to hear from Mr.
Sure.
Wilson first.
All right. I do have information about the comment about the dog from this witness. We were not able to locate the video. I didn't know there was a video of that description until I had that discussion with this witness. The detectives, Shepard, suspected that there was a dog or dogs in the area that may have carried the head out from the wooded area to the street where it was located. That's been his theory since the beginning of the case.
right, but inferring that from the presence of a dog that Mr. McEachern testified to is different than we recovered some sort of surveillance video that showed it, but then we lost it.
Sure, and that was never intended to be introduced into evidence by the state. That's why it wasn't elicited during direct.
Why wasn't it turned over in Brady?
We had a video cassette. We had several small mini cassettes. At the beginning, before the case was indicted, those were submitted to a company in DeKalb, and they were transferred over to a thumb drive, which was submitted in Discovery. And they're labeled as such, converted VHS. It's in Discovery. But that's the only VHS cassette that I've received from APD Annex. The multiple times we've done it, I don't have a VHS cassette.
Okay, hang on. The physical nature of the physical medium in which the state might have it or not have it, I think is less important at this point than does the state have some sort of video that would line up with what this witness is saying he observed? Like some digital video recording of that image?
I don't.
Okay. And so the videos that you're saying you were aware of that were reduced by a private company to a flash drive or something and were produced in discovery, what are those?
Those are all statements. Witness interviews,
okay,
which have been turned over.
Okay.
That's the only VHS cassette that I've seen in this case. A lot of mini cassettes that have also been converted. I only had one VHS cassette.
Okay. I appreciate that. Again, I think it would be easy to identify it if it was a VHS, in your possession. But I think more importantly is, does anybody know that such a video ever existed, whether on VHS or anything else?
I didn't have a documentation of that in the Detective Calhoun's report. I didn't have documentation of that in Detective Shepard's report. And I didn't see any reports that Detective Kelly had written that elicited that information. And of course, all the reports that I have from Detective Kelly appeared to be complete.
Okay.
I had no reason to believe they weren't. But, so like I said, I never intended that this information would come in because I didn't have a way to authenticate it. Other than that detective's testimony, I knew that wouldn't have been permissible to elicit it. He had just him testifying to it.
Okay.
I never intended for that to come out.
Mr. Samuel? I think the answer to your first question is, well, actually, to be honest, now that I'm trying to put it in words, I'm not actually sure I'm clear on what the answer is. And that was why I was trying to make the distinction between the VHS and the video.
Yeah. Let me explain to you how I see the problem.
Yeah, let's hear this.
We have been working on this case, Mr. McDermott in particular, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for Lord knows how many months at this point. He's been in communication with the DA's office. There's been a lot of open file. And yet apparently they're not telling us about evidence that's lost, about videos that are lost,
that's an issue.
About their second witness on the stand who's saying he was the chief investigator in the case and some percentage of his reports are lost. Now, either the DA's office says they were oblivious to all of that and they learned that the same time I did, or they've known it all along and didn't tell anybody.
That's a problem.
Meaning you, us, the destruction of evidence, the loss of evidence that may be important, the loss of police reports from witnesses, from a chief investigator from the original crime scene. He says his reports are missing, and nobody's telling us that the witness is just going to, blurt that out on cross-examination for the first time. And, this business about bleach is not in his report. There's references to bleach in the report, but according to the crime lab that we interviewed, it had nothing to do with bleach in the bags. It was bleach that was done by the crime lab to clean the bones.
And that's a matter for cross-examination.
Well, but he's saying he's saying I've got bleach in the bags. There's no report anywhere that says that.
And again, that's a matter for cross-examination unless there is some report that has not been provided to you. But I'm going to ask you to put a pin in that for a moment and revisit this with Mr. Fawcett or Mr. Wilson. I'm still not sure I understand the answer to the question, which is, before Detective Kelly took the stand, did the state have an understanding that he believed there were other reports that he had made that were missing, number one, and number two, that he believed there was a video showing what he's described about a dog with a bag in its mouth pulling it into the street, which was containing some body part or other? Two questions. What are the answers to those two questions?
Yes, I was providing that information last week when I spoke with him.
Okay. And what efforts did you take to determine if such evidence did in fact ever exist and or was lost or in your possession?
Well, I went back through the file to see if there were additional reports by Detective Kelly. So the reports from Detective Kelly, I sent him portions from the file that we turned over. I went through our additional discovery. I saw additional reports that were turned over. Similar reports to the first one. They were 1 or 2 pages, so not what he's discussing. But I wasn't able to locate any additional reports by Detective Kelly, and that's been through the several times that I've gone through the discovery.
Okay.
And so then?
And, okay, so
what?
you were aware that Detective Kelly believed that there were other reports that were not in your file?
That was last week, yes.
Okay, but I understand you only became aware of it last week, but you did become aware of it at some point.
That's correct.
And what about the second question, which is, were you aware that Detective Kelly believed there was some sort of surveillance video that had been recorded at the time that reflected what he's described?
Yeah, that's the same conversation.
Okay.
Yes.
And did you disclose, and I'm not implying here that you were obligated to. We can have that conversation in a moment.
Yes,
My question, though, is did you disclose to the defense at any time that Detective Kelly believed that there were reports that were missing or that he believed there was a surveillance video that was missing?
I did not have that discussion, no.
Okay. Mr. Samuel, I think I've gotten the answer to those questions. What?
Now Georgia's lowering my books again.
Well, I have the same. The first question says, why would you not disclose that to the defense? That we're going to put a witness on the stand who, in essence, is going to ambush you on cross-examination because you think, defense counsel, you have all of his reports. We know you don't. So if you cross-examine him, you're going to find out that he's going to say, oh, that's absolutely true. I have got additional reports. They just were never given to you.
What obligation does he have to disclose to you?
The prosecution has an obligation to report missing evidence.
Yep.
Right? A VHS camera. He can't just say, it's missing, so I'm just not going to bother asking questions about it on direct examination and let the defense attorneys walk into a trap where the witness can say, oh yeah, what other videotapes are missing? Do they have a videotape of the crime being committed they haven't told us about that was lost? I mean, this is somewhat not the most important thing in the case, whether the skull was dragged out of the woods or wherever it came from. I'm just very concerned if by witness number 2 we're discovering that the prosecution knows there's missing evidence, missing surveillance cameras, missing police reports. They know that that's true, and they're not even telling us about it. It's bad enough that they're missing, which is understandable after 20 years to some extent. It's not understandable why they wouldn't tell us.
So the question then, Mr. Samuel, is what relief would you have the court give you in light of the fact that it wasn't disclosed to you? Is that not something that you can remedy on cross-examination and with this witness and argument?
I have no idea what he's going to say because I have no idea what this witness is going to say that hasn't been disclosed to us. The whole point of discovery in a criminal case is you give us your witness statements. Now it turns out he knows a lot more about this case.
I understand
that. They know, the prosecution knows.
My question was, what remedy would you have me fashion to address this issue if I agree with you that this is a problem? Is
Sanctions,
it talk to the detective and figure out what he's going to say before you have to cross-examine him in front of the jury?
I was actually going to suggest that you tell the jury, disregard the witness's statement as of now. At some point later in the trial, if they want to bring him back after disclosing to us the statements he gave to them that's missing from what they gave to us, if there's something more than the VHS, something more about the bleach, something more about whatever I haven't, stumbled upon yet. When a witness talks to them, that's a witness statement also that hasn't been turned over to us. Not just the witness statement that's lost, but what he told them last week is a witness statement that hasn't been disclosed to us. You can't interview a witness, find out relatively important information and say, I'm not going to put it in writing, so the defense attorney's never going to learn about it.
Understand. Thank you, Mr.
I would ask that the witness you tell the jury not to pay attention to what the witness has testified to, and we'll bring them back later in the trial if appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel.
After the prosecution does what it's supposed to do.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes. I think I could understand. I still wouldn't agree with it, but I could certainly understand Mr. Samuel's position if we were going to take his, I guess where he's going with it, there's some nefarious intents and bad faith on the part of the prosecution to do that. I will say I am not immune to oversight for overlooking items, but hindsight I would have. But I will say this: I had no intention on not turning that information over. I didn't think it was of any consequence. I thought at the minimum it would benefit the state for finding that information out on Friday or Thursday before the trial. I did think that that was somewhat of an ambush. And again, also at the same time, I would say this. I believe the defense has contacted just about every witness that we've had on the witness list since the beginning of this trial. Detective Kelly's name has been in the discovery. Since the discovery was turned over, there are 3 total detectives.
Nope. They don't have the responsibility to find it.
They've subpoenaed detectives from the patent investigation. And so if they had called the Detective Kelly, he would have been willing to speak with them. But to infer that there's some nefarious intent in the process of just simply preparing for trial and interviewing the witnesses, I think it's a bit much. At a minimum, at a maximum, I can understand the court was going to instruct the jury to disregard the last statement, but to instruct the jury to disregard the entirety of his visual observations and testimony about that when he arrived at the scene, I don't believe there's any reason for the court to decide in that manner.
Okay.
This man needs a new job.
I have a couple of questions. What
outside of prosecution, and maybe outside of defense too.
So, let me try that again. Has the defense spoken or attempted to speak to Detective Kelly prior to
Judge,
today?
That's not the issue.
We have not, Your Honor, and I'm looking for the state's witness list that was sent to us currently because I don't think we were ever given any contact information for him, and he's retired, so usually not kept by the police department.
Another oversight, Your Honor. My apologies. Did not mean to not include this witness. Is it not that the defense has a responsibility to question all the witnesses and find
that
the hidden
state provided does list Detective Kelly as Detective Dale Kelly, APD.
Okay.
So, that doesn't actually answer my question. Is your answer that you haven't attempted to contact Detective Kelly because you weren't provided contact information and you weren't able to otherwise locate him because he's retired?
That wouldn't be 100% honest, no.
Okay.
If I could say, I'm not sure the blame should be on us.
I'm not implying that I'm blaming you. I'm asking what information did the defense have that they could have exercised in terms, right? I'm just trying to understand the scope of this. It'd be one thing, for example, if y'all had tried to contact the detective and he'd refused to speak with you. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So
I understand that's your question. I'm not quite sure the consequence of it. If we trust the prosecution, that when they give us the reports, we have the reports. If we have to go and consult all 18 of the witnesses on the list now, all 30 of the witnesses last week, and all 150 in the original list, and say what is missing from your police reports, this case wouldn't have been ready to be tried this year.
Okay.
But
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. So I still think that the answer to the way to resolve this in the most expeditious manner is for y'all to go into that conference room with Detective Kelly and find out what he's going to say is missing from his report, because whether or not Mr. Fawcett should have told you is a different matter than whether or not this detective can testify truthfully about what he believes happened in response to questions. Mr. Fawcett is correct that they didn't solicit that testimony. And to the extent that you believe you've not been given complete information, Mr. Fawcett has made representations about what additional information he believes there is. And you can ask Detective Kelly those questions while we wait and bring the jury back in. It's 2:40. I feel like an initial conversation with that detective to find out what else he's going to say and how many reports he thinks are missing. That's a fair conversation for y'all to have before I decide what to do about his testimony, or to simply have him retake the stand and let's continue his cross-examination with you having the benefit of the additional information that he believes is missing. Mr. Fawcett, or Mr. Wilson? I think he's technically your witness, but
He is. And so the court's going to go in. Would the court allow a recess for them to speak with the witness?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm proposing.
I think that's the way to do it.
Okay. So, Mr. Wilson, if you will go and gather Detective Kelly, and y'all can either discuss it in the lobby, or you can go into that conference room in the atrium there, or you can go in that conference room and discuss with him what items he believes are missing, or that sort of thing. Thank you. We are in recess until 3 o'clock, or if y'all come back sooner than that or later, tell me.
I cannot begin to tell you how wrong I think this is. For the burden to be shifted to the defense, it was their fault for not interviewing our lead investigator after we did some trial prep for him and he disclosed new evidence to us as prosecutors, including the absence of investigative reports and the video pertinent to recovery of evidence of the crime. We just decided that we're not going to bring it up. So there's no need. I was going to tell him, Your Honor. I was, I'm human. I make mistakes. Whoopsies. There's the memo right here, Your Honor. It was right here on my legal pad. Star by it. Make sure you tell the defense we're missing evidence. This is so nuts. And as we have an earthquake from the cameraman, I'm going to echo the words of, well, used in a different context, but the words of Judge Manning. And stay out of Fulton County. Georgia, once again, proving that I was right all along, last trial notwithstanding. Georgia, you're doing something wrong here. This is terrible. This is terrible. Oh, my goodness. Defense, preserve your objection on the record. Object to the solution. Because what this basically did, the judge said, I'll skip in just a minute. The judge said, hey, there's an easy fix to this. You can just do a quick deposition of the witness. See, flesh this little thing out, and then you'll be good to go. No. I would ask right now of the prosecution, with the judge right there on the record, are there any other witnesses who have provided additional information in trial prep to you as prosecution that you have deemed not important to share with the defense? Is there anything else you've learned that we're going to be surprised about? Put them on the record right now. Lock that down. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that this witness told you that we just haven't stumbled across yet? Right now, the onus is on them to go back in the break room and guess the right thing the witness hasn't disclosed yet to them that he may have already told the prosecution. I've got more M&Ms. Let's fast forward a little bit. Oh my goodness. Okay, he does take the stand again. We're going to return. Hopefully the audio is working on this. I know there's a point where the audio does not work. Hopefully it's not this point. My blood pressure's up right now. It's through the roof. This is nuts. I'm not pro defendant here. I mean, I'm pro defense generally because you're innocent unless proven guilty. And I don't like the burden shifting that's gone on here. This is crazy. What else is there? Seriously, what else? For the prosecutor. Okay, first of all, this I believe I don't tell people that they should be fired for no reason. And for this prosecutor to get up and stand up and say, I looked at it, he told me that. Yeah, he did have that conversation. It wasn't important for me to share.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in a moment, Mr. Samuel is going to resume his examination of this witness. Before he does, I'm just going to instruct you that this detective's testimony regarding a surveillance showing a dog, that information, that I am instructing you to disregard that testimony. Do you understand? Any problem with complying with that instruction?
And missing reports?
Okay. Thank you all. Mr. Samuel, you may resume your examination.
That fixes it how?
Detective Kelly, you mentioned on your direct examination something about bleach, and I want to clarify that as well. Am I correct that you don't have any independent knowledge that there was bleach in the bags? Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. In fact, what you've learned was that the bleach was put on the jawbone and on the skull at the crime lab or at the medical examiner's office, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So there wasn't bleach in the bags. There was decomposition of
fluid,
flesh and whatever, but there wasn't bleach that was put in the bag.
No.
Correct?
Yes, there's an understanding between me and somebody else.
Speak up a little bit for these old ears.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, you indicated before that you were missing some police reports, right? Or at least one. And during the break, you and I had a quick conversation, right?
Yes, sir.
And the police report that's missing is the one dealing with the second time you all went out to the scene. The first time is in April, the second time is in June. Is that correct?
Well, I was provided more reports that I did not have or was not given to me at this time, and then the one I'm referring to now is 6/3 of 99.
Right, and that one you don't have and nobody has, but you and I discussed it, so it's as good as if we had a police report, yes. Right? Okay. So in June you go back out there, and you're in the same general vicinity or somewhere out there, is that right?
The wooded area.
Wooded area.
Yeah.
You're not on the road anymore.
No, sir.
And now we have black plastic bags, no bleach or anything, but black plastic bags that have different parts of the skeleton, frankly, okay. Right?
Of human remains, yes, sir.
Human remains, okay. And you gathered those up, and they all get sent to either the medical examiner or the crime lab, correct?
Well, no, I did not gather them.
You were present.
I was present
yes.
when it was being done. The medical examiner's office was there. They took custody of them immediately.
Right, and they've taken me either to the Fulton medical examiner or eventually the crime lab, or someone we'll be hearing from later on in this trial.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you actually see where the black bags were found in the wooded area? Were you watching as they were collected, even though you don't put hands on them?
Yes.
Okay. And the people who were putting hands on are?
Medical examiner.
Are they wearing gloves?
Yes.
I'm sorry. We have a problem. Double problem. My ears and your soft voice.
Medical examiner and their investigator that was out there.
And they wear gloves, correct?
Yes. They wear gloving.
Right. And so on these bags, if there's DNA evidence on any of these bags, presumably it's not going to be crime lab people or detectives because you all are too careful about that, right?
They were. I was not touching anything.
Right. You don't touch them, and they're wearing gloves like you see the crime lab people on TV always doing. Okay. Now, were these bags buried?
I don't remember. Some of them were buried very shallow.
Okay. So just kind of give us an overview. That you're in a wooded area. They're like buried under leaves, or did you have to use shovels to dig dirt out?
I don't recall.
Okay, fair enough. It's 25 years ago.
Yeah.
There were paths through the wooded area. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. Were some of the bags just simply placed on a path?
I don't recall if they were placed simply on a path or not.
Okay. Well, you wouldn't know. Yeah. Placed is a verb that you wouldn't know, but were they located on the side of the path or right in the path?
I'm going to say on the side.
Okay. So anybody walking on a path would have seen the bag, presumably?
You would think, yes.
Okay. And it's now June of 1999.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the first time, as far as you know, that those bags were ever moved from the path or the side of the path?
Yes.
Was there any evidence that you remember, and I know you don't have the report, it's missing, but in your memory, do you remember seeing loose dirt as if other people, the cadaver dogs, were digging up the ground as opposed to the bags being on the surface?
I don't recall.
Very good. Okay.
Peanut butter M&Ms. The green
Those are my
ones
questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, redirect?
They just have one.
Sure.
The green ones turn into the courthouse color because of my green screen.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. You are excused as a witness. State may call its next witness.
We'd call Tina Miller.
Judge has donned her cape of justice. Not a robe so much. Sort of worn over the back only. Yeah. She just ripped her. Was that a necklace she just ripped off, or was that a lanyard? Oh, it's a lanyard with her badge.
Thank you, ma'am. If you'll come up to the witness stand, and once you get here, before you have a seat, if you'll turn and face the deputy and raise your right hand.
You swear to affirm the testimony about to give in court today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. You may be seated. Lower your hand. State this for your name for the court reporter, please.
Tina, Tina, Miller, Miller.
Where do you work, ma'am?
I currently work for the Gwinnett County Medical Examiner's Office.
How long have you worked there for?
Since 2018.
What did you do before that?
Prior to that, I worked for the Atlanta Police Department. I retired as a lieutenant in 2014.
Were you a certified law enforcement officer while you were working with the city of Atlanta?
That's correct, yes.
Could you kind of tell the jury about go quickly through your career as a law enforcement officer?
Okay. Right out of high school, I went into the United States Army, where I was trained as a military police soldier. When I got out, my goal has always been to go into law enforcement. I got that basic training there in the military. When I got out of the Army, I applied to the Atlanta Police Department. I was hired in 1984, started my training with them, and retired in 2014. While at the Atlanta Police Department, I served in Zone 6 as a patrol officer. I was promoted to detective a couple of years later. I was assigned to narcotics, where I spent 5 years working undercover and buying and working drugs in the city of Atlanta. I spent 5 years working fugitive after that. Then I went to the homicide unit, where initially I worked aggravated assaults, and then went on to do adult missing persons in the homicide unit.
She's quite accomplished.
And could you describe the duties of an adult missing persons detective, what you did?
Yes, any adult missing in the city, 17 and older, would come to my desk, and I would follow up on the case, contact the reporting person, and do legwork in an attempt to find the individual. Typically, what I would do is go out to neighborhoods. If they had a substance abuse problem, I would go out to the neighborhoods they were known to frequent and see if I could locate them, get word on the street that their family was missing them, and I had a pretty good success rate with getting them or finding them.
And were you called in to assist on a case of a skull found in April, the end of April of 1999?
Yes, I was.
Could you please tell the jury what the circumstances of that were?
I was working homicide and doing missing persons, and my lieutenant would have me go out on scenes where situations like that, if we had a missing person or we had somebody, we didn't know who they were. And on this particular day, the call came in that Uniform had responded to a call where there was a human skull in the roadway, and went out there with him and Detective Kelly. So I rode with the lieutenant, and we went out and secured the scene and took information and worked the scene.
And where was that located?
On Avon Avenue.
And was that in the city of Atlanta?
Yes, it was.
Fulton County, Georgia?
Yes, it was.
Did you, when you first got to, what do you recall when you first got to the scene?
Obviously, Uniform had responded, and they had blocked off the roadway with crime scene tape. And I remember seeing the skull sitting upright in the roadway with a white stick in front of it, or a painted white piece of wood, and there was a black trash bag, and also various items that had probably come out of the bag or off of the skull in the roadway.
And is it, I know you didn't do it, but is it important to document the crime scene using photographs?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked in State's Exhibit 21 and 22. I'm sorry, may I approach?
Yes.
Are you familiar with those?
Yes.
What are they?
They are crime scene photographs of extremities in a black trash bag that were found by me later when we went back out to the scene to search for additional remains.
And are those accurate, true and accurate depictions of the scene?
Yes, they are.
Or at this time, I'd ask that 21 and 22 be admitted into evidence.
Mr. McDermott?
Objection.
Okay. 21 and 22 are admitted.
Now let's go back to the 29th of April. I'm going to show you what's been previously entered as State's Exhibit number 3.
Do you mean the 28th of April or 29th?
29th of April, 2000.
Is that the initial call?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Now you can see on the you can look on the screen. And that State's Exhibit 3 is that shows that depicts the scene at Avon Avenue.
Yes, it does.
Could you kind of point out to the jury what significant things are on the street?
Am I pointing up here?
Yes, actually, that's probably a good idea. Your Honor, may the witness have permission to leave the stand to help?
Sure, just a reminder to speak up so that the court reporter and the rest of the courtroom can hear you. Thank you, ma'am.
Here we have the skull, which is now sitting upright with the white board in front of it. Here's the black trash bag, and these are items that either came out of the bag or came off the skull, because the skull, it was believed, had been struck out in the roadway.
Did you closely observe that skull?
Yes.
And did there appear to be damage to the bone structure?
Yes.
And what damage was there?
I can't recall specifically, but I can't recall specifically. Because there were pieces.
Show you what's been marked as States 4. And what does that show?
That shows, again, a different angle of the scene where it's down toward, I believe it's down toward Hartford, looking up Avon Avenue.
And what is significant in that picture as far as this investigation?
Again, you could see the skull, you can see the black trash bag, and other miscellaneous like parts that may have been skin or bone.
Let me show you what's been marked as States 5. What does that depict?
Closer photograph.
Show you State 6. Is that a different photograph of it?
Yes, this is more toward the railroad tracks, looking back to your right.
Let me show you what's been marked, or what's been entered, in State's Exhibit number 11. And what is that a picture of?
That is the black trash bag
There's a yellow card that has, for lack of a better term, the number 2 on it. What is that?
That is a marker that was, I believe it was put out by the medical examiner's office to indicate later that they could diagram what was there by the number and reference it later as to what was there.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 15. And that is?
That's the actual skull in the roadway.
And where was that? Where was that in location to? Are you familiar with the business next or very close named Action Glass?
Yes.
How far is that away from Action Glass?
Not very far. It's, if you walk back on the other behind, like going to the right here, you would go to the intersection, and the glass company is right across the street at that intersection.
And if you observed the skull. Was there any decompensation or decomposition?
Yes, there was.
About that skull, how would you categorize that?
Advanced decomposition.
Hang on, we are going to go to 1.5 speed. Hang on just 1 second. It gets a little funky on the screen, so just...
As the skull sat there, were you able to make any identifications at all?
Absolutely not.
Could you tell anything about that other than it was a skull?
No, not at all.
There you go, 1.5 speed. We're trying to catch up. We have a podcast tonight in 2 hours, so we've got to get done here.
Not on that particular day, no.
How long were you out at the scene?
Probably a few hours.
Okay. And did you do anything? Did you do anything else at that scene on that day?
I assisted with anything that the homicide investigators needed to be done, and I also assisted Mary Beth Hoptel in photographing by just showing her, pointing out different items in the roadway that may be related to the skull.
Okay. But she actually took pictures?
Absolutely.
Not you?
No, I did not.
What else did you do that day?
I believe that was it.
Okay. Were you out there on a different, well, did you do any, what work did you do on that case starting that day?
Well, initially, the case was handled by a homicide investigator, and once the medical examiner's office collected the remains, because basically they handle remains or a decedent on the scene, and I was in communication with them and assisting the homicide detective in trying to find out who this individual was.
Was it important to find other parts of the individual?
Yes.
And had you been able to do that yet?
No, not at that time, not that day, no.
Okay. So what's the next significant day that...
This happened today, Trent. It happened today.
The next time was probably, I think, June 3rd of 99. Initially, there was some question that particular head belonged to an individual that was not in the Atlanta area. The investigators were able to determine that head did not belong to the individual in Middle Georgia. They found all of their remains, and it was determined by dental that our skull did not go with that body. And so my supervisor suggested that I get a cadaver dog, and a cadaver dog is trained to sniff for human remains and go back out there, which we did.
Who all went out there with you that day?
The medical examiners had sent investigators out, and also the homicide unit was out there. And because the area we were going to check was railroad property, we had 2 railroad detectives as well assisting us.
And you remember what side of the street the skull was found on?
Correct.
Was that where you were searching?
We were searching. There's a wooded area, which would be across from the skull, and we were searching the other side of that as well as that wooded area.
And were you able to find anything?
No.
How long were you out there searching?
Probably all morning.
And you were also using a cadaver dog?
Yes, we were.
And there was, how many people do you think there was approximately?
Maybe 8.
Okay. How long did you stay searching at that?
They stayed for several hours, and then another call came up, and when the other homicide call came up, they all left to go handle that call, and me, the dog handler, and the 2 railroad policemen stayed.
And what happened next?
We were standing there discussing, kind of what to do next or further options, and a gentleman that owned the garage on the corner came out, and he said, you might want to check the wooded area behind my shop. He said people use that as a cut through, and there's people back there doing drugs, and you might want to check that, and we did.
And what did you find?
The railroad policeman didn't go with us, but me and the dog handler entered the wooded area, and there was kind of a path, so we're kind of walking through the path, and I'm following the dog. And the dog kept going, and I noticed off to the side a black trash bag, and I picked up the trash bag, and it was rather heavy. I opened the trash bag, and an item of clothing fell out. And it looked kind of moldy and off-colored. Well, there was another bag inside that was also it was heavy. And so I pulled it open, and when I pulled it open, I saw flesh. And I pulled it open a little more, and I saw the beginnings of toes on a foot. And at that point, I realized we'd found additional human remains, and I believe that to be a female foot.
Okay, who all was out there at that point?
Me and the dog handler.
And then what did you do next?
At this point, the dog had gone ahead of me, and the dog went around to an area kind of behind where I was and found the leg and thigh that was in that photograph.
Okay, and let me go ahead and have you take a look at States 21. And what does States 21 describe?
That is the thigh, lower leg bone that the dog hit on.
Was that originally in a bag?
I believe so, but not when we found it.
Okay.
Because there's a trash bag that was nearby.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 22. Could you describe it? What is that?
That is a black trash bag.
And was there anything inside of that?
Now, I can't tell from that photograph if that's the one that was next to the thigh and lower leg bone, or if that was another one.
Okay. How many trash bags did you find out at that scene?
I actually just dealt individually with the 2, but other bags were recovered. Once I found realized what we had, I immediately contacted my supervisor in homicide to let them know we had additional remains and they needed to return to where I was, my location.
Now let me ask you this: How far were those bags from where the skull was initially discovered?
Not very far. The street ran in front of the little junkyard car repair place. This was directly behind it, so not even a block.
And how long did you stay on the scene for that?
Several hours, because the medical examiner's office came out. We, searched that area and found the additional bags, and then they collected them. After they documented where they were, photographed them, then they collected them.
And there's a business action glass?
Yes.
How far was action glass from the discovery of the additional evidence on the first video?
Right across the street.
So within
50 feet, if that far.
Ricky, thank you very much.
What did you do next?
On that particular day, again, the remains were collected by the medical examiner's office, and they were taken to the medical examiner's office for the examination. And I assisted the homicide guys with whatever. I had gone back and I checked again for my records, and I did not have a missing person fitting any description in that area.
So what did you do next on this case?
Again, just assisted you want me to fast forward?
Sure.
Okay. I was promoted out of homicide, and before then I worked with the medical examiner's office in trying to find out, did we have a white male, black male, male, female? What did we have with the skull? And the individuals at the medical examiner's office determined that the skull belonged to a white male. I didn't agree with that, but they were the experts, and so it was listed on the system as a white male. And what we did was we put the skull for sure, and we had to do them separately because at this point we didn't know they were the same person. I put the individual on GCIC, which is the Georgia Crime Information Network, and then there's the NCIC, which is the national database. And in a perfect world, that is set up so that when we put that information in, if there's a missing person that fits that description, as limited as we have, we would get a hit on it, and it would say, "Hey, look at this person. This may be who this is." That did not happen.
Okay. May I just have a moment?
Yes.
What else did you have to do with this case?
Again, I met regularly with Dr. Terry and talk to her about the case.
Who's Dr. Terry?
She's, at the time, she was a medical examiner working out of Fulton County. She's a forensic pathologist that was looking, at the time, we were working together looking at the unidentifieds that she had in her office and the missing persons I had in my office. And we were comparing notes, trying to get our individuals identified.
Okay, but as far as the scene and everything, that completed your work on this case?
Yes, that completed my work.
Ricky, thanks once again.
Thank you.
Appreciate those that have liked the stream. It is free.
But I've just received, literally just now, about 70 or 80 new photos of this particular crime scene with bags. And I would ask the court to have a brief recess to be able to line some of these new photos up.
What?
To talk to her about this.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to step out for just a moment while we get
No way!
Ready to examine this witness further. It is 3:32, and I'll have you back in here as quickly as I can. Thank you.
All right, so the jury.
Your Honor, I just got 70 new photos of the crime scene. Hold, please. Fulton County. I mean, I'm not gonna paint all of Georgia with this brush. What?
Thank you. Please be seated.
The actual.
Anything you need from me while you do that?
Not really, thank you.
Okay. Then we are, say, maybe a 10-minute recess until 3:45.
15 when we go further.
Okay. 3:50 it is. Ma'am, if you will step down, you can just hang out outside, but don't wander far. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We are in recess until 3:50.
I am embarrassed for the prosecution. I am embarrassed for them. If this was okay, first of all, Fulton County, you know, their idea of a speedy trial and my idea of a speedy trial are completely different. Watching arraignments of people, you know, how long they've gone unindicted, you know, 300 days in jail, things like that. I'm embarrassed for them on that part as well. But this is a cold case. Okay, this is not a breaking news. The defendant has asserted his rights to a speedy trial. We're under the gun, trying to get everything done. Overlook something. This is like 20 years. I mean, I'm going back to, I was in London. Okay, when this is going on. Oh my goodness. The defense just said, as the state finishes, this is the next witness. This is witness number 3, right? We've had the first one who was in the wheelchair, great guy, couldn't, you know, needed the glasses, everything. The second witness, the lead investigator, says, oh, by the way, we have a video of a dog dragging the head out of the woods on a VHS. It's missing. Don't know where it is. Well, I've seen it. Also, I'm missing some pages from my police reports. They're not in here. You know, talking about the bleach in the bag and everything else. That's new. Defense discovers that. Now, as defense is just to get up to cross-examine the medical examiner employee who was a police, she's a medical examiner now. She was on the police force then. They're like, Your Honor, we're not ready to cross-examine it because you saw when the prosecution just walked up and handed me something. Happened to be 50 crime scene photos we've never seen before. Brand new stuff. I guess he's had that memo as well. Make sure you give the crime scene photos to the defense during trial. Underline, underline, underline. I do not. I don't know how. I should have expected this because this is literally, this was YSL. The whole YSL trial. This was the exact same issues. Something is wrong with this prosecution office, the district attorney's office. This is so bad. 50, it might have been 70. 70. Okay, what's 20 pictures between friends, right? During trial. Oh. 70 to 80 pictures. Lady Draconis, I've been texting Rob. I think you need to take over. I'm not sure I can. I just don't want to text some bad words that, you know. This is nuts. This is Fulton County. When I've told you, I've told you for like 2 years. It's like I was afraid to stop in Georgia. I was afraid to stop when I was driving through to Florida. Like I filled up with gas in South Carolina, drove all the way through. Do not stop in Georgia. This was why. It was a different case, but this was why. And now I'm afraid again. They had one stellar case, and now we're back to Fulton County snafu. I guess we can use that. Situation's normal. This is how we do business down here. And it is terrible. It is terrible. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not getting in there, and please keep it out of chat because, obviously political discussions are very important. I highly recommend you hold them. But a chat room on the internet is probably the least effective way to have a political discussion with anybody. And I sure know that I won't do you justice if I try to hold one side and you get to respond in chat. It doesn't work like that. So we're not going to do political here. But I will say that this is an embarrassment to the justice system in Fulton County and by association, Georgia. Fulton gonna Fulton. This is beyond. I think this is beyond incompetence, is what I'm saying. The prosecution's already got up and said, "Oh, nothing nefarious. This was not, or intentional." How many times can it be a whoopsie before it's like, that's pretty much that's not an accident that we just happened to find, and how embarrassing! I made a mistake. It's a professional mistake. It's a blemish on my record. This is your MO. This is how things get done, or in this case, don't get done in Georgia. I'm going to give the goat one more squeeze, but I'm running out of battery. Oh, we're going to fast forward a little bit because they are looking at pictures and... Sorry, my lights are having a seizure. I'm not sure why. I've got a bad USB connection, apparently. Let's fast forward just a little bit and see if or when they come back. I know there is an audio issue at some point during the day. Let's see if we can finish this witness and the next one before we have podcast time, which starts at 8 o'clock tonight, which I invite all of you to come out to. Hopefully it will help lower your blood pressure from watching this trial today. We did Zoom. Thank you, Lady Draconis. We're back.
Okay, Madam Court Reporter, you ready? Yes. Okay. We are back on the record after our brief break for Mr. McDermott to review photographs that were provided by the state apparently recently. Mr. McDermott, if you could tell me, are you ready to proceed with the jury?
Ready to proceed.
State ready?
It's ready.
Okay, we're ready for the jury.
Can we just proceed with an objection on the
I believe I'm
record?
looking into the system. If I'm not, I'll take the lumps.
So...
What else is he sharing? Oh, there's one more thing.
Do you know how to share your screen?
One more thing. Did I tell you about? I've just been reviewing my Post-it notes. Did I ever send you that email about the one thing? Never mind. We'll talk about it later. Let's continue trial. Oh, we're gonna need some dad jokes tonight to lower blood pressure. Oh, as they're getting sorted. I went to the smoke shop to get a battery because they sell unique batteries there. Discovered it had been replaced by an apparel store. Closed, but no cigar.
I believe I saw him in the hallway as I was coming in.
Closed, but no cigar. There you go. See, I got a dad joke for you in the middle of the day. Don't throw tomatoes at me. It's not bad. It was a good one.
Can we get our witness back, please?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Come on back up to the stand, ma'am.
Tony, this is a good
As you're
one.
returning to the stand, just since we took a break, I'll just remind you that when you began testifying, you were sworn in and that you continue to be under oath. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Mr. McDermott, you may begin your examination.
Ms. Miller, first of all, there's a T.R. Miller in several of the reports. Is that you also?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, thank you. You were called out. Were you called out with the group on June 3rd? And that was when the parts were first discovered?
Yes.
Okay. And there was a second group that went out on the 4th. Were you also part of that group?
We're talking about June?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I think that was just one day that we were out there.
That you went out?
That we went out.
Okay. So I just want to be clear. You only remember going out one day?
There was the day where we found the remains, and we may have gone back another time and did a grid search.
Okay. That would have been like weeks later or several days later?
I can't recall.
You mentioned a search that was done in conjunction with the railroad police?
That's correct.
That would have been across the street from Action Glass and the other businesses, right?
That's correct.
And nothing was recovered from that search?
No, it wasn't. The dog, one of the employees from the medical examiner's office was concerned about a black bag that was over there that the dog kind of looked at, urinated on, and kept walking, and turns out there was a dead dog in the bag. So the dog was justified in passing it by.
Was that an active rail line at the time?
I believe it was.
Do you train them to pee on the target?
So I want to show you a couple of more of the photos that were taken from the day the remains were found. If I want to show that to her, I want to share my screen now.
If you need her to identify it before you, in order to lay a foundation to have it admitted, you really need to show her in physical form if you are able.
Don't have that.
It is, perhaps you could show it to her on your screen.
Yeah, I'll do that.
It is possible to only broadcast to one screen, but it's exceedingly difficult. Yes, sir, granted.
No one's figured out the right combination of buttons to make this technology work.
Does this ring look familiar?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. That's okay. We have one computer.
Prosecution comes up. It's like, we'd like to see this. Like, yeah? How do you think I felt about all the 70 pictures you just handed me?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
This is nuts.
So for the record, I've shown you 5 photographs.
Yes.
And those familiar to you?
Yes.
And are they fair and accurate representations of what you observed the day that you were on the scene?
Yes.
On June 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. Permission to publish, Your Honor?
I'm going to let you publish them, but can you give me a designation for our record?
These would be defense 1 through 5.
Okay.
And move those to evidence, please.
Defense exhibits 1 through 5. Mr. Wilson, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. Exhibits 1 through 5 from the defense are admitted, and you may publish.
Thank you. I hope this works. Oops. My apologies to the court. Perfect. An update is being installed.
Isn't technology great?
We're now going from Windows 95 to what? XP?
And on top of that, I understand you have a plane to catch.
I do, sir.
So we're using the court Wi-Fi to update our laptops mid-trial. Doesn't get much better than this.
Let's see if I can go about this a different way. This will be a little slower, but I'll go one at a time.
She's the third witness, right? Man, this is nuts.
Finally.
What's crazy is these are the ones we see. What about all the trials we didn't see? What's happening in Fulton County?
Can you describe what's going on in this picture?
That appears to be the area where the thigh and lower leg bone was.
Inmates could tell some stories.
Does that appear to be in what you described earlier as a kind of a walking path or a cut through?
That's actually, the walking path is further over to like the upper part of the screen. This was a lower area closer to the street.
Okay, so that was close to the street or closer to the street?
Closer to the street.
Okay, all right.
The father, who was a serial killer, appears to have been cleared. And so we think it was someone else.
And is this the same item?
Yes, it is.
From a different perspective? Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right.
For record purposes, was that D1 and D2?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
now displaying D3.
Sparrow,
And
I don't have
can you
a
explain
time
what we're
frame.
looking at here?
It looks like one of the black trash bags.
And is that in kind of a
We
clear?
might see something here.
Or a
Just
little
heads
path?
up.
A
It
little
looks
path?
like it may be
dinner time.
off the path.
Okay.
We might see some pictures here.
Is it visible from the path?
I don't recall. I don't know where the photographer was standing in relation if he was on the path or she was on the path.
Okay.
Fulton County is difficult to get documents out of and information. We've got people working on it. Everyone's struggling. We don't know exactly how long this one's slated for right now.
And what are we looking at here? Defense 4.
Another trash bag.
And can you remember or recall the general location of this as to where you were looking?
No, not without looking at a diagram.
Okay. And final one, Defense 5. What are we looking at here?
Again, that looks like trash bags. And if I'm seeing this correctly, that looks like the thigh and lower leg bone over to where the number 2 is.
Okay. And again, the same difficulty with the location?
No, it's going to be, if that's the leg bone, that's going to be on that further side.
Okay. Further side meaning from Avon Avenue back further behind the business?
If you come in off Hartford,
Okay.
this would be to the right more so than where the foot was that I recovered.
Okay,
This
I
would be
see.
off to the right. It appeared at the time that perhaps an animal had tore open that bag and it was off to a right, more toward the street.
This one, this back here?
Correct. Again, if I'm seeing that correctly, and that is the thigh, there was a bag nearby that thigh.
Is it fair to say that this is not stuffed back in the brush?
No, this was the thigh and the lower leg was pulled out from the brush.
Oh, did you see it pulled out?
No, it was found
Right there.
right. It was found not in a bag anymore.
Okay.
With
But
a
in that
bag
location?
nearby. Yes.
Okay. And as it is in that location, it's not shoved up in the brush or anything?
No, it appeared to have been pulled out of the brush. It was more in a clearing area.
Thank you. You said one of your jobs was to point out items that may have been associated with the skull in the road. This is, of course, going back to April 29th. Is that
That's correct.
And did you find any other items?
Just the pieces that appeared to have either come out of the bag or off the skull.
And some of those were far down the road, correct?
They were a little further down. Not too far, but further down.
And is that what you were referring to when you said it looked like it had been possibly hit by a vehicle?
That's correct.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Thank you. Very briefly. That's right. Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, I've shown you a picture of exhibit number 2. Do you recognize that, what that is?
Yes, I do.
What was that?
That's the area, and it's an overview of the area where the skull and the additional remains were found.
And is that an accurate description of how the streets and how that part of town looked?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I'd ask that states number 2 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Exhibit 2 is admitted.
I'd go ahead and publish that.
Katrina, buddy, I heard
Go
that too.
ahead.
It was a hot mic moment. Not sure if I heard all the context though.
Okay. Can you step off of the stand and point to where the skull was?
Okay.
Or actually, first,
Okay.
before you do
Yes.
that, can you just describe what that is for the jury?
Watch your
It's
step.
an overview of that neighborhood. It's a little different now than it did back then, obviously. The skull would have been found in this area, right here, right in here. This was at the time, I don't know if it was a junkyard or a mechanic shop. There was a gentleman that either owned that or worked there that was the one that referred us back here. And this is Hartford Avenue. This is the glass company, and the train tracks were back here on the other side of this grassy area, or not grassy, but with the vegetation.
And when you described that you were searching on the 6th or in June, what area did you first focus on?
When we went out there with the cadaver dog, it was this area. We went further down and started at the end where the tree started and came down. And once the additional call came up where everybody kind of left because we had not found anything, we were standing at this intersection, the dog handler and the 2 railroad policemen, when the gentleman came out and he told us about coming back here. I believe this may be a more modern picture because there were no houses. The houses were down here at that time.
And that's where you found the remains.
Correct.
You can have a seat. Thank you.
the audio gets muted every time the counsel talks to the client or to each other.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State 64. Is that familiar to you?
Yes, it is.
And could you describe it?
They're black trash bags that are in the wooded area.
And I'm also going to show you what's been marked as State 65. Is that familiar to you?
Yes, it is.
And what is it?
It's another black trash bag in the wooded area.
And are those fair and accurate representations of how you found things?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time I'd ask States 64 and 65 be entered in, or admitted into evidence.
Mr. McDermott?
No objection.
64 and 65 are admitted.
Thank you. I'd like permission to publish these.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, as you can see on there, where was this found?
It was in that wooded area.
Was that off the path, or you answered earlier questions about being on the path or off the path? Do you recall where this was found?
This was off the path.
Do you recall what were in those bags?
No, I don't.
But those are relevant?
No, there were remains in the bags that were collected by the medical examiner's office.
But that's how they were found?
Correct.
Show you States 65.
Pam, I'll leave Rob to share what he's like. Rob follows a bunch of cases at the same time.
And what is that?
I just say
That's
FNF might be
another
fun this
bag
week.
that was in that area, and I'm not sure if that's the bag that had the foot in it because I really can't tell. If I got up and look closer, maybe. I can't tell, but there were remains in the bag.
Would you like to take a closer look at it?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to tell.
And where was that bag?
Again, in the wooded area.
The same general area?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Any questions on those questions, Mr. McDermott?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Thank you, Judge.
Statement called. Next witness.
We're trying to burn through all this.
They call us a China pet.
Trying to burn through all this testimony so we can get done before the podcast tonight. At least get a little break. So all this did happen today. This is a current trial. It is a cold case trial. So obviously the witnesses that were being called to the stand worked on this 20 years ago, right? It's a long time. We're expecting some of the testimony to not match or not have good recollections. We see that
before
in the
you have a
cold case.
seat, if you'll turn and face the deputy and raise your right hand, he'll swear you in.
Does she drive a Honda?
When you do, just be careful of that ledge because your chair's on wheels.
Yeah, I see that.
Get yourself situated, move up to the microphone.
Thank
if you'll
you.
state and spell your name for my record, please.
Okay.
I get a bingo if a witness falls off.
It's Tina May Patton, Patton.
Yes. Ms. Patton, good afternoon.
Hey.
All right. Can you tell the court what part of the county, where are you from?
I'm from Henry County.
All right. And are you familiar with the name Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes, sir.
All right. How do you know Melissa Wolfenbarger?
She's my sister.
Okay. Do you have any other siblings?
No, just her.
All right. And is that your biological sister?
Yes.
Can you talk about where you and your sister Melissa Wolfenbarger grew up?
Well, part of my life, we were in Ellenwood, Forest Park area. And then the other part, most of the time when Melissa was in school, we were in Stockbridge or McDonough, Locust Grove.
Okay. How many years did you live in the same household with Melissa?
Until I was 18 when I left.
Okay. Are you the same age as Melissa, or are you guys different ages?
No, she's younger. There's 7 years in between me and Melissa.
All right. And who lived with you and Melissa in your residence growing up?
It was me, Melissa, my dad, well, our dad, and our mom. And for a little while, our granddad on my dad's side, Papa.
Okay. And what is your mother's name?
Norma.
And what's your last name?
Patton.
And what is your father's name?
Carl Patton.
Okay. And were your mother and father together throughout your childhood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what type of relationship did you have with your sister growing up?
Well, there were 7 years between us. So we were doing different things at different ages. I mean, there were 7 years between us. So when I was 7 and was out playing and stuff, she was a baby. So we wasn't that close. I mean, we lived in the same house and we played outside and stuff, but we wasn't like 1 year between us that kind of close.
Okay. And do you live with anyone now?
Just my husband.
Okay. Now, you said that you lived in the same household with Melissa until about 18. Is that correct?
I was 18 when I left.
And what did you do? What did you do? And where did you go when you left the residence?
Well, at 18 when I left, I was in Stockbridge probably for about a year with my dad's Aunt Marie with her daughter, Elaine. I lived with her for a little while. And then after that, I ended up in Las Vegas, actually, Nevada, and had my son out there.
All right. And when do you make your way back to the Georgia area?
When my daughter was, let's see, she was born in 90, so probably about February of 91, we came back to Atlanta. Well, I came back to Atlanta with both my kids.
All right, so it's February 91, you left at 18. Roughly how many years passes between those two events?
3 years.
All right. During that period, did you keep in contact with your family members?
Yeah. Melissa came to Tucson, Arizona and lived with me for a little while.
Okay, all right.
Before I had Kimberly.
All right. That would have been during that 3 year period?
Mm-hmm.
So from, say, 18, 19 to mid-20s? All right. And so when you came back, did you live by yourself or live with someone else?
No, I went back to Mom and Dad's house.
All right.
And Melissa was still at home.
All right. And so you're about, say, mid-20s during that period?
2021.
All right. How long did you stay at the residence with Melissa and your mother and father?
I stayed there pretty much until probably late 94, probably when I left again. Okay. But I'm thinking about 95 because 95 was when I got married to my first husband, David. And that was in early 95, though.
Okay. How long? It's okay. All right.
So it was probably about October or so of 94, I guess, when I left.
Were you employed, working anywhere?
I wasn't working. I was pregnant at that time.
Okay. And at some point, did you start working?
When I went back home.
And where did you start working?
Waffle House.
All right.
Again.
All right. How many years did you work at Waffle House?
Off and on for about 20.
Okay. And during that period, while you've been employed at Waffle House, up until the time that she disappeared, did you keep in contact with Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Not. I was kind of mad at my parents. Well, more mad at my mom. I was upset with my mom. So I really didn't call home much. But all of a sudden, one day, somebody comes up to me at Waffle House and says, "Yes, sir, you're going to be training tonight." And I'm like, "Who?" They said, "Your sister." And I'm like, "What?" And she was married then. She was already married to Chris.
Okay. And what year was that, if you can recall?
97.
Okay.
Yeah, 97.
So that was roughly the year before she disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what type of work would Melissa do at Waffle House?
Well, she worked third shift with me. She was a server.
Okay. You recall how long she worked at that location? And what location was that, if I didn't ask you that?
It was close to the airport, Virginia Avenue, next to where Spondivus is. So the corner of Virginia Avenue and Bobby Brown.
All right. So roughly about 3 months, do you recall the time period?
Probably about 6 months because she had gotten her vacation pay. And Waffle House, you get a vacation check every 6 months.
Okay. All right. Are you familiar with Christopher Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
How do you know Christopher Wolfenbarger?
He was married to my sister.
Do you recall at what point in your life you met Christopher?
Yep. It was 95 when I got married.
All right.
The day I got married actually was the first time I ever met him.
And were the defendant and your sister in a relationship at that time you met him? Okay. And do you recall how long they were in a relationship when you first met him?
No. Because, well, it wasn't. It had been a while, I guess. Because when she came to work with me at the Waffle House, they were already married.
All right. How many?
It was 95 when I first met him, January.
95, and you recall how much time passed between you first meeting him to when they got married?
Probably about, not too long. I think it was only a month or two.
Okay. Did your sister and the defendant have any children?
Yes, they had two.
You recall their names?
Christina and Joey.
All right. Did you get an opportunity to spend time with them as they were growing up?
No, because I was working all the time.
All right. Prior to the defendant and your sister getting married, how much time would you say you had a chance to spend around him?
None.
Okay.
None.
After they got married, how much time would you say you had an opportunity to spend around the defendant and or your sister?
I spent more time with her than I did him. Okay. The only time I ever saw him was when he would come up there to the Waffle House to drop her off or pick her up.
All right. If you saw him in court today, do you think you could recognize him?
Oh, I know his face very well.
Okay. If you could point to Christopher Wolfenbarger.
Right there, black hair and the gray suit.
Okay, thank you.
If you would, ma'am, sorry, but for my court reporter, if you'll, you're fine so far. You don't need to repeat anything. But if you'll let the lawyers finish their questions all the way
sorry.
before you start to answer. Thank you.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Your testimony was that Christopher Wolfenbarger would visit the Waffle House, Virginia Avenue near Spondivus.
Yes, sir.
How many times do you recall him doing that?
All the time. Every time she had to work.
And what would you see him doing during that period?
Most of the time, just watching what she was doing.
And you familiar with the name Troy McClendon?
Yes.
Who was Troy McClendon?
Troy was my boyfriend at the time when I worked at that Waffle House with Melissa.
All right. And did you ever see Troy at the Waffle House?
Every day. He worked the same shift that me and Melissa worked, third shift.
Can you tell the jury if Troy was ever at the Waffle House at the same time that Christopher Wolfenbarger was at the Waffle House?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And Do you recall a confrontation between Troy McClendon and Christopher Wolfenbarger?
Yes, I do.
Now, without repeating anything that you that anyone else said during that encounter, can you tell us what you observed happen?
Melissa was running late this time. She was running late getting there, and I was standing in the back by the office door, just looking out front, watching what was going on, because it wasn't time for me to go out front yet. The manager was counting the money for us to take out, and Melissa came in. She came through the swinging door at the back where I was, and I looked at her, and she had tears in her eyes, and her nose was red, her eyes were red, because that's always how she got when she was crying. We all do when we're crying, and everybody in my family anyway. And I noticed that she had like red marks around her throat, and I said, Melissa, what's wrong with you? What's going on? Wait a minute. Is that a handprint around your throat? And she just looked at me, and her eyes filled with tears. And I said, did Chris do that to you? And she just looked at me. She didn't really say nothing. And then I just turned and was going to go out the door. I was going to go say something to Chris.
Okay. Did you?
She wouldn't let me. She stopped me. She said, you'll make it worse.
Can you tell the jury what happened after that?
I went out front. Troy evidently heard me in the back room saying something to Melissa, so he was coming towards the swinging door when I was going out. He said, what's going on? I said, he hit my sister again.
What happened after that?
Troy went over there and confronted him and hit him, and he just looked out the window.
I'm sorry?
Chris just looked out the window.
Okay. How long did that continue?
Not long, because one of the other employees came and grabbed Troy and pulled him away and got Chris out the door.
Okay. Now, what period of time, if we're trying to orient, you started, I think you said you during that 6-month period during 1998.
Does seem like a Waffle House type exchange right there.
Sorry.
Okay. So if we're looking at that beginning of 1998 period, can you tell the jury, as best you can, when did that happen?
That was more towards the end of 97.
Okay. Now, is that the only confrontation with Christopher Wolfenbarger that you can tell the jury about?
And that's the only one with Troy.
Okay. Did you end up having another confrontation with Christopher Wolfenbarger?
I did.
All right. Can you tell the jury how that happened?
Melissa had come and stayed with me for probably about a week. It was supposed to have been longer than that. So we would sit up at night talking about stuff, and then all of a sudden she decided she wanted to go home because the kids. So I took her home, and she was getting out of the car, and I was getting out with her, and I was going to hug her to tell her goodbye. And he came out of the house, Chris, and was coming down the steps, and he called me a bad name. He called me a B. And I started going up the steps. He said, if you put your hands on my sister again, I will beat your butt. And she grabbed my arm and said, Tina Mae, shush. You're going to make it worse. She always said I would make it worse.
Okay. Anything happen after that?
No.
Okay.
She quit after that.
And around what time period was that?
That was within a month after the confrontation with Troy. So about a month.
Okay. Okay. Now, I want to turn your attention back to at the time that you were working at Waffle House with your sister. Can you tell the jury if anything you can recall about what the defendant told you that might have been a cause for concern with you, especially considering the disappearance of your sister?
As far as what she said?
Did you have any conversations with the defendant, or did you overhear the defendant make any statements about anything in particular that was a concern for you?
Yeah, we were sitting having breakfast one morning, me, Melissa, Chris, Troy, and there's another waitress sitting there, Diane. She was a friend of mine. She'd been working with me for a while, and we were all sitting there eating breakfast, just having a conversation, talking about whatever. And then all of a sudden, Chris pops off with, well, I know how to get rid of a body if I need to. And me, Diane, and Troy looked at each other like, what? Because we were just talking nonsense about silly little stuff or about the news of the day or whatever, just cutting up laughing. And then all of a sudden, this comment comes out of his mouth.
Okay. And your testimony, you don't recall the context or what happened or what was said before that?
Well, that was the thing. It wasn't like we were talking about being mean to somebody or killing people or nothing. We were just sitting there cutting up about little silly stuff, and then all of a sudden this comment comes out.
Defendant's right there.
And we're all like shocked because it's like, where did this comment come from? Why would he say something like that?
Dark
hair. At any point did you ask the defendant about that statement?
Oh, no.
Okay. Do you recall if anybody else asked him about it and if there was a response from him regarding that?
No, nobody said nothing. Everybody was just surprised, shocked.
Okay. Now, if Melissa stopped working, you said after that 6-month period at Waffle House, did you see her again after that?
In March, for my birthday.
All right. And what year of March was that?
98.
Okay. All right. So And would that have been the same time that she would have ended her tenure at the Virginia Highland Waffle House?
I didn't know that she was working at that one because when I saw her that night, she told me she was working at Doryville.
Oh, okay, all right. But was that after she had left the location she was working with you? I'm trying to make it. Okay, all right.
He said Virginia Highland.
Gotcha.
We were on Virginia Avenue.
One moment, Judge. Let me turn your attention back to you were talking about a period of time when Melissa and the defendant were, when you came back, they were in a relationship, but it was before they were married. And you have to give a verbal answer. So was that it? That was a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Do you recall when Melissa left the residence?
That I don't.
Okay.
That I don't. I don't know when she actually left from home. I know in '95, when I got married in January, she was still at home, but they were dating at that time.
All right. Now, have you, let me ask you this. When was the first time that you had a concern about the whereabouts of your sister, Melissa?
When my dad walked into the Waffle House in February of '99 and asked me where my sister was.
Okay. Why was that a concern for you?
Because Mom, it was right after Mom's birthday. Mom's birthday is February 24th. If my sister didn't go see my mom, call my mom, or send her a card for my birthday, then something was wrong. Because Melissa always called Mom or got in touch with Mom or something on her birthday. Always. She never forgot Mom's birthday. I did. But she always remembered Mom's birthday.
Okay. And so this is February of '99. After he comes into the restaurant, what do you do after that?
Nothing. I just was like, I was surprised. I remember I called my grandmother and asked her why Dad was looking for Melissa. Because at the time he came in, it was lunchtime, so I was kind of busy. So I couldn't really sit down and talk to him and have a long conversation about what was going on. He just came in and said, "Where's your sister?" And I was like, "I don't know, why?" He said, "Well, I went to go look for her and I can't find her nowhere. Nobody knows where she is." I said, "Well, Dad, she doesn't work."
Just a moment, ma'am. Yes, sir. What's that?
I can move on with the additional questions.
And just as a reminder, ma'am, we generally, unless we're asking you to not necessarily tell us what other people told you, unless we specifically ask you about that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Bissett.
At any point, do you make any efforts to locate Melissa?
Well, I knew that they were looking, so I myself didn't.
And when you say they, who are you referring to?
Mom and Dad.
All right. And specifically, did you make any attempts to reach out to law enforcement or anything of that nature?
I did, but it wasn't until 2015.
Okay. And how did you go about that process of reaching out to law enforcement in 2015?
Well, the thing is, in 2015, there was a lot of the ID discovery shows. I kind of got addicted to them, and we already knew by then that Melissa had passed. So I kind of got angry, and that's when I really started trying to reach out to him and push.
Okay, so these are shows where crimes are being solved?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, so you started trying to reach out. Who you started trying to reach out to?
City of Atlanta, or anybody that would listen. Nobody wanted to really talk.
All right. And are you aware of any investigator was working on that case at that time?
It was Calhoun at that time.
All right. How did you come to find out about the particular officer involved?
Actually, Calhoun, we had already talked to him before that. It was, I think, 2003, I think it was, when we talked to him.
Okay. And 2003, was there anything else of significance that happened in 2003?
That was when we found out that she was dead.
Okay. Well, anything prior to that?
That was the same time that my dad was arrested.
All right. And what was he arrested for?
Murder.
All right. And so your dad's arrest for murder, does that happen before or after you find out that Melissa was the identity of the remains?
Actually, it was the same time.
Okay.
That I was notified.
I see. Okay. But you recall that as being the same year?
Yeah.
2003?
Same year, same day.
All right. And from that 2015 period up to, I guess, the point that we are now, did you make any additional attempts to contact law enforcement?
Oh, yeah. I tried.
Who did you contact and how many times did you try to do that?
Every time. Well, 2015 was when I decided I was going to get the folder, the file on Melissa.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I was trying to get the file on Melissa.
Okay.
On the case. I had problems getting it. I filed the Open Records Act probably 3 times. And they kept sending me emails back saying, no, they couldn't find the file. There wasn't a file.
Okay. And how many times did you attempt to do that?
That was 3 times then.
And what age? You said Atlanta Police Department you were to? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Yes. Sorry.
All right. Did you do anything else besides that? Try to get the open records request?
Yes. After the third time, I'd come down here the third time in person and filed it. I'd already talked to somebody with Henry County Sheriff's Department that came to the restaurant where I ate at, and he said, "Well, if there's a file,
okay. You can't say what someone else said.
Yeah." He just gave me a suggestion about what to do about the file.
All right.
I'm going to object to relevance, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow it. Overruled. Go ahead.
Okay. Did you reach out to anyone that wasn't with law enforcement?
Yes.
And
well, no, she's really with law enforcement.
Okay. All right. And did you continue to do that throughout that period of 2015?
Anybody who would listen to the story I told.
Did you conduct any interviews with any reporters or anything related to this story?
Of course.
Okay. And what was the point or purpose of you doing that?
Getting Melissa's story told.
And why were you trying to do that?
Because we wanted answers about her murder. We wanted an arrest.
Okay. Now, did you and Melissa have any conflict as you were growing up?
Of course. I mean, we were sisters.
Okay.
There's always some kind of conflict.
All right.
Nothing life-changing.
And the two instances where you were testifying as to the encounter that you had with the defendant at Waffle House and then at the residence, is that the only encounter that you had with this defendant?
Yeah.
All right. That's all I have, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. McDermott?
You've spoken to the press and media a lot of times, haven't you?
Of course.
One of the things you've said is you've described how you and Melissa are kind of polar opposites.
Yes, we were.
She was a quiet, shy, reserved.
Yes.
And you were not quiet, shy.
Right. No, not at all.
You
I'm pretty
described yourself
outspoken.
a little bit more rebellious.
Yes.
When you were younger. Did you describe a period earlier that you had left for a couple of years and didn't talk to your mom?
Yes.
And you previously told detectives that you couldn't talk to your mother. You just didn't get along with her.
I didn't get along with her for quite a while.
Okay. You described yourself as a daddy's girl?
I was.
And Melissa as a mama's girl?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, let's just talk about this briefly. You've been in a little bit of trouble yourself, too, haven't you?
Yes.
You were most recently convicted for possession of methamphetamines, is that correct? And that was in 2021?
Yes.
And did you have a similar charge in 2022 or 2020?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have previous drug charges before that?
No.
Okay. Do you remember telling Detective Calhoun that Christopher worked for your dad at one time?
He did.
Would that have been a very
short time?
It was a very short time, but it was very early in their relationship, wasn't it? What did you say, like 95 or so?
No, probably before that.
Okay. And what did Christopher do for you?
Well, my dad was a roofer.
Okay.
He had a roofing company, so.
He spent a good bit of time up on the roof then, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Christopher would have been there with him?
Yeah.
And so Christopher would have spent a good bit of time with your dad at that time?
Probably.
For however long it lasted?
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of times, Dad would go to other job sites and stuff, too.
Now, you just described that you didn't know to be worried about Melissa until your dad came into the Waffle House where you worked.
Yes, sir.
And you said that was in February of '99.
Yes.
And that would have been right after your mother's birthday, is that correct?
Right.
And did your mom and dad come up there together?
No, it was just Dad.
Just your dad. And that's when he asked you about where's your sister.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, sir.
She didn't call it Christmas.
Right.
And she didn't call for your mom's birthday.
Right.
And that's when you said, wait a minute, something's wrong.
Right.
And what did you do after that?
I waited to see if Mom and Dad would find her, because that's what they were going to do. They were going to look for her. I was working night shift. It was hard for me to look for her.
And it was hard for you to look for her. And how long was it before you actually did start to look for her?
I couldn't look for her. And by the time 2003 came around and we found out she was dead, it wasn't until later that I started trying to do something.
I see. Do you remember saying to Detective Calhoun that after Carl came up to look for you at your old Waffle House, you went up to Brookline?
No. That was way before that I went to Brookline.
If I showed you a transcript of your interview with Mr. Calhoun, would that refresh your recollection?
Probably.
Yeah, approach her.
Yes.
Okay. My apologies for the small print.
Very small.
I think it's
maybe, but I have glasses on, so it's okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
So does that refresh your recollection?
Yeah, it does.
So you did go up to Brookline after your dad came?
Yeah, because Dad wasn't exactly sure. He had a different address for him than where they actually were. I think the address he had for him was Washington Avenue, I think. It wasn't Brookline.
Do you remember also telling Detective Calhoun that when all this stuff first happened, I went up to the West End to Brookline and knocked on the door?
Before what happened?
Those were your words. You talked to an aunt or a cousin there?
Aunt or a cousin? No, I never talked to an aunt or a cousin.
If I showed you a transcript, would that refresh your recollection?
Yeah. Where?
You do not. Thank you.
I don't remember that. No, I don't remember that.
That doesn't refresh it?
No, I don't remember that.
You deny saying that?
I don't remember saying that.
You deny?
I don't remember. I know that I don't remember ever knocking on a door and a cousin or something like that answering the door.
You remember that?
I know I went to Brookline after I saw my dad.
Do you remember the house that Christopher and Melissa lived in was a duplex?
Yeah.
And that their relatives lived in the second?
There was a uncle or something that was deaf that lived on one side of Chris and Melissa.
So do you not deny making this statement that you talked to somebody at the house?
I don't remember talking to anybody at the house, but I know I went to Brookline, but I don't remember saying to Calhoun that I talked to somebody.
Okay, I just need you to focus on my question. I know you don't remember now, but I'm asking, do you deny saying it?
Hang on, there's an objection, so just one moment.
The witness has answered the question. He's demanding an acceptance or denial. She simply stated she doesn't recall. So I don't think she's in a position where she's ready to say I deny it because she doesn't remember.
It's spicy here. I know we're going fast, but
I'll move on.
Go ahead.
Do you remember Detective Calhoun asking you about your father, and could he have had anything to do with Melissa?
Yes, I do.
And do you remember saying, no, he's mellowed out as he got older?
I don't think that was exactly what I said, but I know I told him that there was no way it had anything to do with my dad, and that my dad would not do that. Actually, I took offense to it.
he's not that kind of killer.
Do you remember also telling Calhoun immediately after that you and your sister and your mother were the most important things in his life?
In whose life? My dad's?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you remember saying that he would kill anybody for you?
For us, yes.
If anybody was messing with you, they were gone?
Yeah.
That was all it was. And do you remember telling Calhoun it didn't matter who it was?
That's true.
Does that sound like a man who had mellowed out?
Your Honor, objection. The question initially was speculative in nature, or was asking a speculative question. I think he's coming back to what she thinks her father could have done, and I'm objecting to the form of the question.
I'm going to sustain the objection to the form of the question, and you can rephrase it, sir.
I'll move on, Your Honor. You have stated that through the period that you knew Melissa at the Waffle House and whatnot, that you worked hard to get Melissa away from Christopher.
Yes, I did.
And you said that you didn't like him?
No.
And that nobody in your family liked him?
No, we didn't.
You remember saying that to Detective Calhoun?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember telling him, do you remember saying on a podcast that Mom and Dad don't even know how much I tried to get Melissa away from Chris behind closed doors?
Yes, I do.
And you did all that while you were working at Waffle House. And you persuaded her to come live with you for 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And you said just a while ago on direct testimony that you claimed that she left your house because she wanted to go see her kids.
She wanted to go back home to her kids after a week.
After a week. And that's when you took her.
It's been 2 weeks.
And you took her back up to Brookline.
Yeah.
And are you aware that her kids didn't live with her at Brookline?
They were always there when I went.
Does this court really have a
Anytime
mini
I saw her at
fridge?
Brookline, they were there.
Is that a mini fridge or is that a server rack? I can't tell.
You were aware that at that time she didn't have custody of those children?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Do you remember? Do you remember Detective Calhoun telling you that she didn't have custody of her children at that time?
Hang on, thank you. Mr. McDermott, response?
It's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It's being offered to her recollection that it was said to her and what her reaction was.
I'm going to overrule the objection. Go ahead.
You remember telling Detective Calhoun that she wouldn't just up and disappear on her kids like that?
I do remember saying that.
And he told you she didn't have custody of them?
I don't remember that exactly, but I know he said something to me about the kids.
If I showed you a transcript of that discussion, would it refresh your recollection?
Yeah. Where?
With this being Fulton County, I wouldn't put it past him to have a little mini fridge there in the courtroom. But I do think that is a server rack.
2003, correct?
Yes.
AV equipment.
So you've known since 2003 that she didn't have custody of her children, correct?
That's what I was told.
So,
and I learned.
Your testimony here today still is that you took her back to Brookline so she could see her children.
That's what she told me she wanted to go back to Brookline for, was because of her kids.
Because of her kids. Okay, thank you. You said that Melissa was actually close to Troy, your boyfriend.
No.
Do you remember telling Detective Calhoun that that was one of the few people she was close to?
No, I don't remember saying that.
We were catching up with this so we can be done before the
If I showed you
podcast,
a transcript of that, would it refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
which starts at 8. This is something we expect to see a lot of in this trial. People forgetting what they said 20 years ago. It's not a shock moment. I mean, I don't remember what I said last week, let alone 20 years ago. So this doesn't bother me much.
Not really.
Do you remember telling Detective Calhoun that she was also close to your husband David at the time?
I kind of, a little bit remember that. Something about David.
Is that David Burns?
Yeah.
And where is he today?
Hopefully in jail.
And why was he sent to jail?
For molesting my daughter.
Do you remember, obviously I've asked you several times if you remember talking to Detective Calhoun in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember in that interview that he asked you when was the last time you saw Melissa?
Yeah.
And do you remember telling him, similar to the story you told here a while ago, that it was in March on your birthday?
It was March. The same week of my birthday.
The same week of your birthday. And you remember that clearly because?
Because it was my birthday and she brought me a cake.
And she brought you a birthday cookie.
Yep.
And you worked at the Waffle House by the airport, and the WWE wrestlers came in on that night.
Yeah. I remember that.
Bingo.
And you and Melissa were both WWE fans.
Yeah.
And you said, but she just missed them that night.
Yeah.
Okay. You remember telling Detective Calhoun that that was in March of 1999?
I don't remember saying 99, but I was probably confused about the year.
This trial needs a
98.
thumbnail.
99 was when she was found.
But you agree with me that she was not found until April 29th?
Yeah.
But do you remember having that conversation with him that your mother had told you it can't be 99, it had to be 98?
I think that was later on when me and Mom were talking. Because at that time, I don't think me and Mom were really talking that much.
If I showed you a transcript, would it refresh your memory?
Yeah. I do remember her telling me that one time.
And that was before the interview with Detective Calhoun, obviously.
No, I think that was not before the interview. I think that was later on. I think she said something to me about it.
If this is a transcript of the interview with Calhoun, and you're telling him about your mom talking to you before that interview.
Mom wasn't with me that day. I went to see Calhoun by myself.
And when you're talking to Calhoun, you said, I talked to my mom yesterday. Isn't that what you just read?
Yeah, that's what I just read, but I think that was a different time.
You think?
Different time that I talked to Calhoun. That wasn't the first time that I talked to Calhoun.
But now I'm confused. You gave multiple interviews to Detective Calhoun?
I talked to Calhoun several times.
And this was in 2003, correct?
Right.
Okay. So, as of this interview, you were telling him that you were certain that it was March of 1999, but that you had talked to your mom the day before, and she was trying to get you to change your mind. Is that what you just read?
That's what I read, but I don't remember that.
Okay.
I don't.
You concerned about Melissa when your father came into the Waffle House in East Point in February of 1999?
Is that a yes? Yes. Thank you. Sorry.
So you were working there in that time frame?
At a different Waffle House, I was. I was at a different Waffle House when Dad came to see me.
You just testified
at Waffle House. But it wasn't the same Waffle House we worked at.
Okay, I'm going to go back and ask you again for the record. Do you remember stating on a podcast, I didn't get concerned until I was at work one morning at Waffle House in East Point, and here comes my dad walking in the door, talking about where's your sister?
Yeah.
And that was in February of 1999.
Right.
Okay.
What's the question?
Well, I thought you just told me that you were working in a different Waffle House.
I was. It was the one in East Point, but that wasn't what you said earlier.
So you were working at the Waffle House in East Point at this time?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Washington Road.
That was my question. And is that where Melissa came to see you?
Whoa.
No.
What Waffle House was that in?
Virginia Avenue.
Okay. And where's the Waffle House in East Point at?
Washington Road.
Washington Road. The one by Spun Divots?
No, that is Virginia Avenue.
Okay.
It's also East Point. There's two East Point applications.
I see.
Location.
When you saw Melissa leave that night the last time you saw her? Was she by herself or with somebody?
She was by herself.
And how did she leave?
She just left in a car.
In a car? Do you remember telling Detective Calhoun she was in a white Ford pickup?
It's possible. They only had two vehicles that I ever saw.
And she was driving the vehicle?
She was driving it.
Do you know who owned that vehicle?
Probably Chris.
Do you remember telling Detective Calhoun that that car was in her name?
There was another car that I think I said was in her name. But that's what she told me.
If I showed you a transcript of that discussion, would you refresh me?
Oh. I said, I think.
Did you tell Calhoun at that time that you think it's in Chris's name? Or did you tell him that you think it's in Melissa's name?
Well, it says there that I thought it was in Melissa's. So that's probably what I said, but there was another car that was supposed to have been in Melissa's name.
Now, you just told us about an altercation that allegedly occurred between Troy McClendon
Thank you.
and Mr. Wolfenbarger. And you told it a little different than you did the first time, or at least as you told Detective Calhoun. And I'd like to walk through some of those details.
Okay.
When you testified a while ago, you said that she came back, they came into Waffle House together, is that correct? Melissa and Chris?
Is that a yes? Yes. Thank
And
you.
Melissa walked to the back with you. And she was in tears.
Yes.
And you noted these handprint marks on her neck.
Right.
And you said to her, did Chris do that to you?
Yeah.
And she didn't say anything.
Right.
And you said you went to go do something and she stopped you?
Yeah.
What were you going to go do?
I was going to confront Chris.
Okay. Do you remember telling Detective Calhoun a different version of that story where you asked her, what's wrong with your neck? And she said, Chris tried to choke me.
Probably. I don't remember exactly. That was a long time ago.
But you're testifying under oath here today that she didn't say anything back.
I'm sure when I was walking away, she was trying to stop me, which she would have said something.
But she didn't say anything back when you asked about the neck.
She cried. She didn't have to say anything.
But you told Calhoun that she didn't respond to you. Correct?
I guess. I mean...
And you said that as you were starting to come out the back, Troy McClendon was coming through the swinging doors to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you talked to Calhoun, you said you were coming outside and Troy was just coming in the front door.
No. That wasn't what I meant. There's one swinging door between the front and the back. You have to go through
So you're referring to the front as just the restaurant part?
Right.
Okay. And you remember telling Calhoun that when they came in, Chris sat down at the high top?
No, he sat down in a booth.
If I showed you a transcript, would that refresh your recollection?
Probably not, honestly.
Is that a yes? Yes. Oh, okay. That was when they were coming in the door. When they had come in.
So when they came in, Chris sat down at the high top, correct?
Yes, sir.
And for those without Waffle House lingo, the high top is kind of the bar with the tall stools.
Yes.
I don't need to explain that to an Atlanta jury, I'm sure. But then you said when you came out, you talked to Troy. And then Troy went to confront Chris.
Right.
And then he went over and Chris was in a booth by the window.
Right, because he had moved.
And Melissa was in the seat beside him, correct?
No, Melissa was still in the back. Melissa wasn't out front yet.
If I showed you a transcript, would that refresh your recollection?
I think the defense has proved that this did happen a long time ago.
Other side of the booth. Okay, yeah.
On the outside of the booth, is that correct?
The other, I probably said that outside,
Other side of the
but
booth.
she was on the opposite side of the table from Chris.
How did she transport from the back suddenly to the table?
Because she went out the back door to go out front. She went the opposite way of where I went. I went straight to the front. There's another door behind the office that goes to the restrooms.
Okay.
So she would have went out that door and went out front trying to beat me to the front. But Troy had stopped me.
And he had to reach across Melissa to slap Chris, is that correct?
He reached across the table to slap Chris.
But he had to reach across Melissa.
I don't remember Melissa sitting on that side. I think it was the other side.
Okay. So you've told different versions of the story, different details as time's
It
gone
was
on.
a
haven't you?
long time ago.
Yeah. You've also told us this story that Christopher just one day blurted out at Waffle House, he knows how to kill somebody and get away with it.
He did.
And you said you had no idea where that phrase came from.
No.
But didn't you just tell us that Christopher used to work and spend the day on the roofs with your father?
And
your father was convicted of murders he committed back in 1970s?
So? My dad never said anything like that.
How do you know? Were you on the roof with Chris?
My dad would never say anything like that.
I'm asking you, were you on the roof with Chris?
No, I wasn't.
I'm objecting. I believe this is argumentative.
It is.
Overruled. Move on, please.
So, just one more time.
Move on.
You were never on the roof with Chris?
No.
You weren't there when he spent time with your father?
No.
And you don't know what your father might have boasted about?
My dad never boasted about what he did.
Not around you, correct?
They never talked about what he did.
You can only talk about what you know, correct?
I know my dad never talked about what they did.
All right. Excuse me, no further questions.
Wow. Anything else for this witness, Mr. Fossett? Redirect.
Ms. Patton, when you confronted Chris at the residence, you were testifying previously to dropping Melissa off at the residence. What residence was that?
Brookline.
Okay. And that was still during the 1998 period?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that,
Yes. Thank you. That's okay.
All right. And if we're talking about the year she was found, the year her skull and remains were found, you recall that as being 1999?
Yes, it was.
All right.
99.
Now, if you could, to the best of your recollection, think back to that period of time when you were working with your sister, and I get the Waffle Houses confused myself, and that's the Virginia Avenue Waffle House. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. What year was that?
It was 97 when she worked with me.
All right. And was that the beginning of 97?
It was the end of 97.
Do you recall if it was December, November, October?
Well, it was the end of December. It was the end of the year. But it was March when she came to see me of 98, and she had already left that Waffle House.
All right. And your testimony was that she left right after she got the 6-month vacation check?
Right.
So if she started at the end of 97, would 6 months have taken us to the end of 98?
No, I think it was... How can I explain it? If she started in, like, September, then it would have been September, October, November, December. There would have been 4 months right there. By the time my birthday got there in March, she had already left that Waffle House because she was at the one on, what was it? Dorville. She told me she was at Dorville.
So she would have left, I guess started early enough in 97 to hit 6 months before your birthday in March. Right. Okay. Now, you were just testifying as to the events that occurred at Waffle House.
Right.
You just testified about the booth, about the high chair. Have you seen, you would show the transcript, before the defense attorney showed you a copy of your statement, the multiple statements.
Right.
Had you seen those transcripts prior to today's date?
No.
You hadn't studied those transcripts?
No.
And we're talking about events that occurred in 1998?
Right.
And are you still testifying to the best of your recollection?
Yes.
All right, that's all I have, Judge.
Mr. McDermott?
No further questions.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
That was our final witness for the day, playing catch up. Rob, welcome. Good to have you here, my friend.
Counsel, can you approach for a minute?
We're on 1.5 speed. Rob, you got to rewind and watch. FNF needs your commentary on a couple things that happened today. It's basically YSL 2.0.
5:15, and so we're going to adjourn for the day. I have a couple of pieces of instruction for you and requests. Let me start by telling you that I need you to be back here tomorrow morning at 9:30, and you'll just follow the same procedure that you followed previously. Now you probably have a little bit more insight about going to the callbacks, and we'll let you into the jury room. So that's 9:30 tomorrow morning. A couple of things that are important. One is we can't proceed unless all of you are here together. So that means whether it's I'm releasing you for the evening or if I'm releasing you to lunch or a break, if you'll try really hard to come back at the designated time, especially if arriving in the morning, because we can't start until everybody's all here together. If you are running late, if something happens, if you missed the shuttle the first go round, that sort of thing, just let us know. Contact my office, send us a quick text or an email, and that way we'll know that you're on your way and that we can accommodate that. Last few things I want to let you know, especially now that you have heard some evidence in the case. I want to remind you that your obligation in this case is to make this decision only based on the evidence that you hear in this courtroom. And so that means that it would not be proper for you to drive by any locations, to go do any of your own research, to look anything up, to do anything like that. It also would not be proper for you to discuss this case with anyone or to allow anyone to discuss it with you or around you, and that includes amongst yourselves until I tell you to actually deliberate the case. Now, lastly, I don't know if there will be media about this case, but I know some of you, maybe more than others, have said you watch local news and that sort of thing. I'm going to ask you to please avoid media. Don't go look anything up about this on social media, and please avoid local media or national media if you can, just in case there is something about this case. Now, should you happen to accidentally encounter something, first of all, stop immediately. And then second of all, let me know that that happened. And probably it will be nothing, but we need to know about anything that you might have seen so that we can decide if any action needs to be taken. Finally, I appreciate your patience and attention to this process, and I will send you home for the evening and see you tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
9:30. See ya.
And the jury room will be locked, so you can leave your notes and things like that in the jury room when you go home for the evening.
There you go. I'll listen and see if anything else happens here. As we're wrapping up for the day, we picked this one up because I was trying to fix the audio for
Thank
you.
You may be seated. Anything from the parties that you need me to take up before we adjourn for the day?
Two very short things.
Yes, sir.
One, we were given a rap sheet on a witness, maybe the first witness tomorrow.
It would not be the first one.
At some point tomorrow. This is the first I've ever gotten a rap sheet on her. Our entire knowledge of this witness is one sentence in a report that's, 183 pages long. So I don't know much about her. I have actually two requests. One, is there any additional information through interviews or whatever? Or is that one sentence all we're going to hear from her?
Regarding who is this person? I think that'd be helpful.
It's a former neighbor who's going to say she heard them fighting. The opening statement seemed to have gone a lot further than that, which means there's some other interviews or statements going on.
Ms. Hilton?
Yes, and I can put.
Can you tell me the name of that witness so our record's clear?
In the discovery, I believe she's named Dorothy Jones.
Okay.
However, her name is actually Dorothy Cooley. Cooley, Cooley. Okay. She resided on Brookline. She was a neighbor of Mr. Wolfenbarger. It appeared, and I'll apologize, I thought most of this information was in the discovery, so I'm going to apologize for not giving you all of this. So we found her yesterday, Your Honor, interestingly enough, at her job. I did take a moment to speak with her. What we believe her testimony will be is that she lived on Brookline, was a next-door neighbor, knew Mr. Wolfenbarger for about 10 years. She would say, and this is not going to come out, but in full disclosure, that they would sit on the porch every day and smoke marijuana. But he was younger than her. She was a little bit older. She was familiar with his Uncle Rick, who also lived at that home as well. That over the course of some time, eventually she started seeing a woman come by the house. She may have saw a baby with this woman once or twice. That she would hear yelling coming from their home. That one time she may have heard like things breaking multiple times, and that she did see on one occasion a black eye. She was the woman was wearing glasses and had a black eye. So that's what she would testify to. I don't think she knew her name. She can describe her. She's familiar with what she looks like. I did show her a picture of Ms. Wolfenbarger to see if this is the same person that we're all talking about. She said she recognized her as the woman that she has seen with Chris. I think she has to work tomorrow, so she'll be here by sometime after 10, so I can make her available so that you can talk to her. But that is the synopsis of, I believe, the information she would provide.
The second thing is, because I was just given a rap sheet, I can't give them notice, pretrial notice, that some of these convictions are old, but she's got a lot. I'm trying to make my way through the cycles,
and Mikey,
but there are some
so
felonies that are more than 10 years old, so I'm giving them notice now. I do plan
we need a good
to
pursuit tomorrow.
Use those to cross-examine her.
Ms. Hilton?
You're right. I think that's fine, that she's given notice. Thank you.
Thank you. It seems like we're going to accept that as notice for now. Mr. Samuel, anything else?
I think I just remember the 1 o'clock thing tomorrow, or the 1:30 hearing tomorrow.
Yes, the 1:30 hearing.
Again, I'm not trying to take priority. If I can just, if maybe we could do lunch sometime around then.
Yeah, I don't know how long. Judge Emerson is usually pretty efficient.
He's going to be very efficient.
But my intention was to target breaking for lunch around 1:15, so that way the jury would be, occupied. You could go downstairs and do whatever you need to do, and then be back. And then it's. Thank you for reminding me of that, because that might assist the state in having their witnesses ready to go as we proceed through.
I very much appreciate that.
Okay. Anything from the state?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. The only thing I will ask, and this is just a preference, different judges are different ways, but if you can stand up and say objection, hearsay, objection, argumentative, objection, calls for conclusion, objection, he's badgering the witness. Let's keep it to a minimum, right? If we need to have a more fulsome discussion, then I'll probably invite you up here. I'm not going to say you can't make your record that you've made the objection and what the general grounds are. And if the answer is going to be a withdrawn or something, we can do all that. But let's keep our speaking objections. I don't think anybody's trying to get away with anything so far in terms of objections and responses, but let's keep our speaking objections and responses to a minimum. Okay? Anything else? Okay, we are adjourned. It is 5:22. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9:30.
All right, awesome. As they go, let me just say a couple things. First of all, Credence and Mikey, we got a chase, greatest channel for police chases on the YouTubes. If you don't follow them, you should. Thank you very much, my friends, for the super chat. I think you're actually not far from me. I think you guys are from my part of the country. Also, Rob in chat here. I was texting him a little bit back and forth about this. I'm not sure what he's going to cover on FNF, but I imagine this might make the list. FNF, it's late for me, so sometimes I stay up way past my bedtime and do watch, and it is hilarious and insightful and everything else. So, Rob, today was wild. We've got 3 occurrences where it looks like in day 1. Where here in Fulton County, the prosecution is turning over discovery mid-trial. And some of it, they're only turning over, or they're basically admitting to after the defense stumbles upon it in cross-examination of the prosecution's witness. It is nuts. It is wild. And the resolution, I don't think the judge did the right thing here. I think it's more of a problem. I guess this is because we saw YSL, right? We saw this happen so many times with just the prosecution dropping the ball. Not so much as like, oops, we meant to do that. It was an oversight. Those things do happen, and that's okay. But this is literally MO. 3 out of 5 witnesses. We've got something to divulge. We found 70 more pictures right now of the crime scene. We just thought we'd give those to you on day 1 of the trial. Here, it's on a thumb drive. Here you go. Nuts. I can't wait to hear your take on it. Ian, I'm sure, would check in as well. You guys have had some things to say about Fulton County before. So thank you both for being here. Appreciate you, good friends. I see a mistrial happening. And we said that with YSL. Look how long YSL dragged out. Look how long that didn't end in a mistrial. We're in the same county. So it's gonna be good. All right, let me tell you this. It is Thursday. It is 7:16. I have sound check in 4 minutes. I need just a little teensy break to go say hi to my wife and maybe see if she'll give me some more of those peanut butter M&Ms. I've only got a few left. And then we'll be back. We'll be back for the podcast, the Not Relevant podcast right here on this channel. Weather Watch, thank you very much for helping set all that up. I say help, but he did all the work this week, as he does most weeks. So I look forward to seeing the rundown for the first time in just a couple minutes. So please join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone to make the day just a little bit better. And please stay safe. We'll go live again in 44 minutes now with the Not Relevant podcast right here. I'll do a portal. I'll portal us over there. So it's going to be good. We have a sound check. That's the only thing we do. The only prep we do is a sound check. As long as you can hear us, we're good. We'll just wing it from there. You guys have a great evening. It's been a fun day today. Thanks. We'll see you in a little bit. Bye. To say a couple of big shout outs. Nurse for God, thank you very much. 27 months on the jury. Also 5 memberships. Thank you. Groovy Jill, Kelly H, Sandy, 5 memberships. Thank you. Allie B, Ricky C again, and Credence and Mikey. Thank you all for your generosity today. It's been great. You guys have a good one.